Might want the microphone in front of me. What's up? Welcome to Normal America Show. Host robnoerr. Did I spell it wrong? Who's no year? Hey, it's great to be here. Hope you're all having a good day. I think I've had I don't know. This is a top day. Today's a top day for me. A really, really amazing day. I'll explain why. But it's been very good. Dark mode, wrong. What's everybody yelling at me about? My goodness. I don't mean political stuff. Political stuff, whatever. I got a lot to talk about today. I had a lot in my mind we'll talk about. But, man, it's been a wonderful day. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, I did the Little League stuff earlier today. It was amazing. Day shift team. We did the call-in show today. You can check that out. That's still up on YouTube. We decided to put it on YouTube. Check that out. But I will say, day shift crew left a lot to be desired today. So we're gonna crush them tonight with the donos, with the support, with all that great stuff. But man, I cannot speak highly enough. Now, first off, if any of my regulars have the full link to Thomas Massie's concession speech, I would like the full speech. I've seen little clips of it, but I didn't know where to watch the full speech. I would like to watch it and give an honest review of it. But, yeah, the day shift losers, we're glad they're not here. They suck. They suck. So we'll make fun of Massie. We'll talk about the good, the bad of Massie, what to expect going forward with him. But first, I'm going to talk about my super amazing, awesome day. I was a little late doing the show this morning, the call-in show, because I went out and had a very nice lunch with my wife. It was just a very pleasant day, hang out with her. She's still my favorite person to hang out with, so it's an absolutely amazing day hanging out with her. And then we picked my son up. We went to vote, and the ladies, there's a bunch of elderly ladies. I was the 83rd person to vote, and my wife was the 84th. We had no decisions other than for lieutenant governor, so no one was running in our race or in our district that there was any options in the primary. So I did get my pick for lieutenant governor, who I voted for Jason Ritchie for lieutenant governor. Other than that, G.T. Thomas running again, my current congressman in my district. He's the longest serving Republican in Pennsylvania. And then Stacey Garrity will be the candidate for governor. She was running unopposed. Thank you so much, Marcellery. What an MVP. I see it right now, popped up in my Discord. Total boss. Oh, and GG Senate as well. Well, thank you both. You guys are awesome. So we'll cover that later. And then after that, we came home, messed around for a little, and then we went to baseball. And so it's Little League. I think there's 6 teams. So I'll explain a little. I won't talk too much about this, but there's like official Little League, organization, etc. And they have rules. And basically there were, I don't know how this worked out, but it was something to do with this. Our area, they were trying to send where we would have had to drive to the nearest district, which for us would have been about 50 minutes away. And a lot of the parents around here weren't too keen on that, because a lot of the kids, particularly in the division like above us, we're just in T-ball. So the next 2 divisions in Little League, you'll have school until June, and they're already starting games. And so that would mean that you get out of school and then you have to rush like an hour to another school district for practice. It just wasn't going well. So a lot of the parents came around, and they're sort of self-funding it, I believe. Now, I don't know if Little League actually let them keep the moniker or whatever, but I do know that a lot of the parents stepped up. And I know me and my wife were like volunteering for a bunch of stuff like running the concession stand and other fun things like that. But it was a lot of fun to go over to the thing today. Last year, if I had to be honest, my son did not do so hot with Little League the first day. What it is the first day, it's like there's 6 teams, I think, and they all show up, and they have different stations. So there's the hitting the ball into the net off the tee station, and then there's the playing catch with the ball station, and then the running the bases station, and all that good stuff. Today it was a little more put together, I feel. But last year my son, he got bored after like 25 minutes and just pouted and didn't want to play it. And he also never really had interactions with kids his own age. He has cousins that are like older than him. So it was just little things like, once hitting the ball's fun, but standing in the field sucks. And he was just not having it. He wasn't listening, and he didn't start to have fun with Little League until like the game started. But the practice portion of it, he just wasn't having a good time. Night and day this year. Well, he was great. He had fun playing. He was good at the activities. Like he was, pretty good at throwing the ball. He was hitting the ball pretty good. Last year, we were lucky. We'd swing like this and then like sort of sometimes hit the tee with our backswing. He hit the ball very good. And here was the coolest thing. I can't believe these people did this. I hesitate. I can't. I took the picture of my wife's son. So this is how cool these people were. And I'm over the moon about this. My son's having a great time. So we start at one station and then we're moving around. They blow the whistle like every 10 minutes and then you move to another station. So at one point they blew the whistle and they said, hey, go to that pavilion up there and they're giving you snacks. There's someone special up there giving you snacks. Okay. So we go up there and they were doing like Capri Suns and like orange slices and I think you can get cookies. You want to know who the special person was that was giving snacks? It was Spider-Man. They had a guy. And it wasn't even a cheap-looking Spider-Man suit. It was like, you could tell it was like a teenager, but it was a Spider-Man outfit. My kid loved it. He made me take like 20 pictures with him, and the kid was doing like the pose where he was getting down, like crouched down, doing the like pretending to do the web stuff. These kids ate it up, man. They thought it was the coolest thing ever. The guy that was playing Spider-Man, he was like, what's your favorite part of T-ball? And Hank was like, he was whispering to me, he's like, can I tell him I like Venom? I was like, yeah, you can tell him you like Venom. That's fine. So it was so cool. And my son was such a trooper about it. He had so much fun. I was just so happy. I thought it was the coolest. Then we went out, we stopped at the Tasty Freeze and got some ice cream on the way home. And he was just as happy as I've ever seen him. So I cannot say enough. The people that did the Little League thing today, they made his day. I thought that was really cool. The only downside is the next time we go to baseball practice, he's going to be like, where's Spider-Man? Like, what's up with that? I thought Spider-Man was going to be here. So I'm very pleased with how it went. I was just so happy and so proud of my kid. He had fun. He was trying to help the younger kids because he's 5. Last year was 4 when he was doing it. So there's a couple kids that are 4 and they're kind of like crying, and he was trying to help out with them. So it was good. It was good stuff. So I am in a very good mood. Plus I got to watch Destiny rage out on my channel last night. That's always fun, right? So I'm riding a high. Good stuff. So there's a lot to talk about tonight. Obviously, there's election stuff going on. I will admit this is not good on my part. I don't know which all places had primaries today. Obviously, I know my state, Pennsylvania, had a primary, but I don't know. So I think Georgia was having elections today. Anywhere else? Obviously, Massie in Kentucky. So a big primary day. Like I said, regrettable in my district. There wasn't more of an option with primaries. There were districts where it mattered in Pennsylvania, but now the good work begins going into the general election, where you gotta. Thanks, Panelverse. You gotta really push for the correct things and the right people to win going into the general election here. So let's start talking about that. Let's talk about the legacy of Thomas Massie. I talked about this a little on the call-in show today. First off, all of your super chats, incredibly appreciated. We'll read the few that we have in. But remember, you got to beat day shift. I think day shift had like $140 or something today, so we could do it. Joseph Romano, $5 says Glessings. Thank you. Glessings to you. Taylor TC, $5 says Holy F, the Libtard code is insane tonight. Did you know people can have differing opinions, not because of tiny hats or being paid off? I did know that. That's something I talk about a lot. And Jabroni Big Time, $2 says, good evening to all of you plop stinkies. Thank you. Ken P's not happy. Ken Paxton? Of course, that's big news today as well. We're going to talk about Ken Paxton. There's so much. It's weird. Some days, there's like nothing to talk about. Today, there's a bunch of other stories that are almost like only tangentially connected to politics that I wanted to talk about. Then, of course, you had Trump endorsing Paxton, which is huge news. Then you had, Massie losing. Supreme Court in Georgia, there were people suggesting that Democrats had a shot to flip that. That doesn't look like that's going to occur. Looks like not likely to happen. But let's start with Massie. So I see Ken P. not happy. I assume that's not Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton happy. What's up, Sergeant Rosenfeld? Thanks for the $5. So what do I think about Massie? Now, I haven't watched the full concession. I saw his little joke at the beginning. I'm not upset about the joke. I actually think it's funny. If you're going to be sort of a Jaceburger, you might as well make some lighthearted jokes about it. So the only clip I saw of his concession was at the beginning where he was like, sorry I'm a little late for my own concession here. I had to concede, but I had to call into Tel Aviv to reach Keyline. Pretty good. Not bad. I think the legacy of Massie is a confusing one to me. Let's start with the good, and then I'll go with the bad. I really didn't care if he won or lost tonight, if I'm honest with you. I assumed he would lose. It seemed that the momentum was going that direction. I don't even know how close the election was. I saw that it was called and he conceded, but how close was it? Does anyone have the numbers? It looked like it was more of a loss than I think people thought it would be a tighter race, even if Massie lost, than what it ended up being, from what it was looking like. But I don't know. Anyways, lost by 10 points. Yeah, it's pretty big as an incumbent. Good things about Massie. As someone who sometimes flirts as being a libertarian adjacent person, I respect Massie's sort of stated commitments to small budget conservatism. And he makes a solid point that I think is something that's going to eventually need to be contended with, which is you can't claim to be a fiscal conservative, but always say this year's the exception. This year's the year we have to spend a bunch of money. It's this year, it's this year, it's this year. At some point you have to say there are no fiscal conservatives in power. Trump's not a fiscal conservative. He's not. So if you were a Tea Party person who was all about Obama blowing out the budget and all that stuff, I was right there with the Tea Party. And then Trump comes in his first term, and even before COVID, he was spending at a higher clip than Obama. And now we're in second term, and Trump's raising debt ceiling spending. I get it. And I respect people like Massie that are trying to be principled or claiming to be principled, like, hey, no. I also respect the idea that there are people willing, even if it means that they know that they're going to face scrutiny and be primaried and possibly lose, that are willing to stand up and stick on their principles and say, kiss my ass. If I think you're wrong, even if you're in my party. I respect that. And I respect a lot of the sort of libertarian-esque things, not all of the libertarian things, but a lot of them, particularly, we already mentioned fiscal conservatism, but other things about government bloat, etc., that Massie sort of harped on. So those things I respected. However, there's things I didn't like about Massie and things that makes me question how sincere he was in these beliefs. First, he voted for raising the debt ceiling under the Democrats. Like his explanation, yeah, but they promised, there was baked in that this would reduce spending. Like, you're going to trust? You're going to trust that's what the Democrats are going to do? It seems that he was more conciliatory towards Democrats most times than Republicans when it came to staunchly, well, I could make excuses to vote in the way that's sort of against my value when it comes to a Democrat. Oh, one more positive. I thought Massie's grilling of Benny Johnson on the pipe bomb situation on January 6th was amongst one of my favorite things I've ever seen someone do in Congress. Same with Rand Paul with Fauci. Those are like libertarian-esque Republicans. I thought they did a phenomenal job on those two topics. So that's the good. The fact that he was willing to vote to raise the debt ceiling, etc., under the Democrats for their budget bills, that's troubling. And then we get to the two issues that I think are very troubling with Massie. First is the Epstein files. I don't have a problem if there are a lot of people on the Epstein files. I think there's taking it too far. However, fuck Trump for when he came out and was like, him and Pam Bondi botched the original handling of the Epstein files. And one of the worst unenforced political errors I ever saw was Trump coming out and being like, if you still think the Epstein files, there's something to it, and it's not a Democratic hoax, I don't want your support. Okay. That's one of the dumbest things you could ever say. Now, I'm not willing to hold a grudge of that sense to then give power to the Democrats that want to do all this awful stuff to me. Right? But I understand it. So from that sense, like, someone in office like Thomas Massie, it's going to be like, hey, kiss my ass. This is an issue near and dear to me. Totally get that. Here's what doesn't make sense about Massie. Why did he never say anything about the Epstein files? He was there 14 years. Why didn't he say shit when Biden was in office? Why not? This is such an important issue to him. He thinks that powerful Israeli lobbyists are covering this up. Why didn't he say anything for 4 years? Why? The victims didn't matter for those 4 years? Epstein files were created all the way back in 2008. You have no criticism with the handling of that? Au contraire. At least we got files under Trump. Epstein was arrested under Trump's first term. Barack Obama didn't do shit. Key Democrats continued to meet with Epstein even after his initial charge in 2008, 2009. If Massie cared so much about the victims of Epstein and about the control that he implies that powerful people, including the Israeli lobby, why didn't he bring it up? Now, I understand Ro Khanna. Ro Khanna is like Massie's partner in this. Is anyone, let's ask the chat, does anyone have a guess why Democrat Ro Khanna didn't say anything about the Epstein files during the Biden administration? Can anyone take a guess? Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, probably in Congress, the two biggest champions of releasing the files. So why would it be that Democrat Ro Khanna didn't speak up about this during the Biden administration? I'll give you a clue. It's not a hard answer. That's right, Zach. It's a party first. He didn't care. Yeah, you get it as right, wrongfully. He didn't care. All it could have done was hurt the Democrats, so he didn't say anything. It might be cynical. You might think it's morally reprehensible, but it makes sense. But what about Massie? Why didn't Massie speak up? Massie's not a Democrat. Massie surely wouldn't have cared if Democrats were harmed, right? He's a Republican. What would Massie's possible reason have been? Ro Khanna, I get. I'm a Democrat. I don't want to shit on Democrats. Massie, Republican, allegedly. Why wouldn't he want to shit on Democrats? You could say, well, he didn't want to make it partisan. Fine. But surely the victims mattered. If that's the key, if it's not about politics for Massie and it's just about the victims, why silent for 4 years? His explanation that I've seen him give was a very tepid, like, well, because I knew that it would fall on deaf ears. Oh. So you didn't give a shit to inform the American people about this huge corruption lobby? You didn't care about that? Didn't give a shit about that, huh? It seems to me that the most logical answer is because Massie didn't like Trump. And Massie wants to help take Trump down. And Massie didn't feel that way about Joe Biden and the Democrats. That's what it seems like to me. It's the most logical answer. That's it. It's not about the victims. Massie said he's got the names and stuff several times. He's about to tell us. Where's that been? When Massie and Ro Khanna, his partner Ro Khanna, finally got around to Ro Khanna unredacting some of the names, a massive blunder that turned out to be people's names that were redacted for good reason because they had no connection to Epstein whatsoever. Hey, Emmett, thanks, man. So for Massie to sort of ride this issue and keep just like it's the sole most important thing that he's been focused on, I could completely get on Massie's side on this, even if I didn't agree with him, if this has been his stance for the past 6-7 years. But it hasn't been. He didn't have anything to say when it could have damaged Democrats. Nothing. It was not until he decided the guy that he had spats with in his own party, Donald Trump, he was going to use it, and he's going to play like footsie with it. Like, well, does this really mean Trump's covering up for them? And just like imply it. The other thing that for me with Massie was even worse than that, is his commentary immediately following let's see. If I could find this article. I can't find it. Anyways, Massie allegedly, he was quoted in a paper after Charlie Kirk's assassination of saying, we need to tone down, both sides need to tone down the rhetoric. Massie was someone who, previous to that, I probably would have said was one of my favorite people. That comment, be gone with you. You are not a leader, goodbye. It's bad enough if you're just a regular person like the rest of us that adopts that mindset. But if you are in office and your response to Republicans being assassinated is, we also need to turn down the rhetoric, you do not deserve to be in office anymore. I have zero respect for you at all. Goodbye. Done. That's how we got in this position in the first place. Weak Republicans who every time they're punched in the face go, well, it was kind of my fault. That's it. I just don't care. See you later, Massie. Sorry, dude. All the shit of the allegations about, did he do this or that or whatever with some, mistress or whatever. I personally don't give a shit. I don't evaluate that whatsoever. There is a bit of schadenfreude and sort of his sort of implication that Trump's involved in cover-up of shit without, like, showing any real sources or proof of it, just mostly innuendo, and then being attacked in a similar way. Massie also did something kind of scummy here, where he released like newsletters out saying Trump endorsed him, linking to the 2022 endorsement Trump had of him. So that's ultimately my feelings on Massie. How do I feel about a bunch of money was spent in his district to stop him? Well, I guess that's what happens when you come at the king. You got the eye of Sauron on you. You got the ire of Trump. So Trump isolated this early as someone he wanted to see taken down. There you go. Now, I suggest, I have not done this, let's watch his concession speech. 26 minutes. What do you say? You guys want to go through the concession speech? Yes, Rob! That sounds like a great idea! So big money just wins. No, not always. Trump was outspent in the 2016 election. He won. There's other people that have won without spending as much money as their opponents. When you come at the Jays, is that what Massie did? Massie really cared about the Jays. That's why he was quiet about the Jays for 4 years, right? Why is that? Was Massie on the take of the Jays for 4 years? Is that what happened? Anybody, any Massie supporter in here, please explain it. Why was Massie silent as Jews took over, controlled our government? For 14 years he was in Congress and he only started focusing on it. Jews, 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 Jews. Now I'm good. Now I'm speaking the truth. Prove it to me it was all Jewish money. Let's see it. Let's see that all the money was Jewish. Did Massie take any money from Jewish people? One. Did he? Did he take any money from any foreign influence? Did he? Why didn't Thomas Massie attack the Israel lobby in the form of going after Epstein for 4 years? Why didn't he? Why was he silent? Did he not realize? What was the revelation he got that just happened to coincide with Trump coming into office, that all of a sudden he drew the connection that the Epstein cover-up was all part of Mossad in Israel? Why was he silent? Anybody. I see the Massie supporters. Go ahead. Someone give me an explanation. Anyone? Can any of you give me an explanation? Was he willing to take Jewish money before that? And only now he's pissed off? Why? Because he's not getting as much Jewish money? Yes, I know what AIPAC is. How much money did AIPAC send to Glenn? You're not just talking about AIPAC, you're going to say other people as well. I've yet to see an explanation from anyone in chat defending Massie. I hear, well, he criticized Israel in other ways. Yes, but he clearly has been hyper-focused on Epstein as perhaps the most important issue connecting us to Israel. Why didn't he talk about it for 4 years? Anyone? Notice the lack of commentary. No answer. They don't have one. Massie, trust me, Massie really gives a shit about this. Yeah, AIPAC's not foreign money. It's a domestic lobby. That's 11 million. He had 30 million. I thought Israel was so hated. Massie should have won easily, right? That's what I've been told. It's a losing issue. Now, man, popularity of Israel's gone down, but the way I've heard it, it's clearly that's like the biggest issue. Epstein was given a sweetheart deal that was basically the details of which the whole court case was under wraps in like 2009. So no going once, going twice. Any explanation of why Epstein connoisseur, Epstein file connoisseur, Thomas Massie had nothing to say about it for 4 years? I didn't say AIPAC's not foreign influence. I said it's not foreign money. Look, I'll just sum it up for you. All these people claiming to care about Thomas Massie, almost none of them give a shit about Thomas Massie. They hate Israel. That's it. They hate Israel. Massie decided to grandstand on hating Israel. It's that simple. The people that claim trust us, vote Democrats. That'll ensure we get Groyper president in 2008. Huge setback for them today, as they couldn't even win a race against a relative unknown in Ed Gagarin. But somehow they're going to have the nation rise up to overcome the likes of J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, Ron DeSantis in a primary. That's right. It wasn't so popular to Jaceberg. Anyways, I didn't hate there. There were things about Massie I liked. Don't get me wrong. I have no problem also with his general claims about, hey, we should fucking stop sending money to Israel, etc. I totally agree with all that. And what's the alternative? Vote for Massie. Label Trump an Epstein defender. Let Democrats take over, and then someone good will win. Trust the plan. Trust the plan. I heard it straight from Nick Fuentes' mouth. Vote Democrat. Trust us. Someone will come. Someone will come. Or Exphobic said, trust us. Say yes. We don't have any idea where funding will come from. We're a ground game. We just know that the mystical figure that will rise up, that will be America first if Democrats win in 2016 or 26. Trust us. That this mystical figure he'll figure it all out. We're all saved. Israel will be defeated finally. Anyways, let's watch the concession. We'll probably speed it up a bit.
Listen, I would have come out sooner, but I had to call my opponent and concede, and it took a while to find Ed Galrein in Tel Aviv.
I chuckle at that.
I did get a call through, though. I have called and conceded the race. We've been honorable the whole time, and we're going to stay that way. Welcome to the most expensive congressional primary ever in the 250-year history of this country. It's not just the most expensive. This thing went on longer than Vietnam. It started 9 months ago, and they didn't even have a candidate, and they decided they want to take me out. I want to start by thanking the volunteers who have put so much effort into this. Some of you came from all across.
Look, one thing I'll say, short of any of the time there's these concessions, assuming that there's any humanity in you whatsoever, there are a lot of people that volunteer for these campaigns. It's a tough moment. There's a lot of people that put a lot of hopes in people. So concession speech, always tough. And, for me, when I didn't win my primary that I ran in, I didn't have a team. I had my campaign manager, Tom, and my wife. But I did take them out to dinner. So,
Across the country. Some of you are homegrown. I love all of you. I see how this is going to work. I'm going to have to not quit talking or you'll start doing it. I want to thank my staff, too. Some of my staff have been with me from the very first race in 2012, and they have done so much. We've never had, contrary to all the BS you've heard, we've never had a single ethics complaint filed against me or my staff in 14 years. I want to thank the donors. Now listen, I'd name them all, but there's 50,000 donors, okay? We didn't lose this race because we didn't have enough money. It is the most expensive race ever. I think when they add it up, right now they can count 35 million. I think when they add it up, it's going to be a lot more than that because on our side, we know we spent more than 15 million. And we were able to go toe-to-toe. There was never a week that we got outspent more than 2-1 in this entire race.
Okay, so just to be clear, I'm reading that they're estimating 33 million was the total spent on this race. If he's saying that they spent 15 million, that means his opponent spent about 20 million. Seems to be what the estimate. Where are you getting that they spent 35 million? I'm happy to see that. That the anti-Massie people spent 35 million. Happy to look that up. Happy to see it. He just said we were never outspent 2-1 in any. Is it?
A lot more than that because on our side, we know we spent more than 15 million. And we were able to go toe-to-toe. There was never a week that we got outspent more than 2-1 in this entire race.
There wasn't a week where we were outspent more than 2-1. So he didn't say that they were outspent 2-1. Real patriot on screen. This man's a real patriot. He did it. He's trying to get to the bottom of Israel controlling the Epstein files. He had a sore throat for 4 years under the Biden administration. Knight and the Bishop, can you explain to me if he's super concerned about the Epstein victims, why he didn't say anything for 4 years under Joe Biden? He's a real American. He's a patriot. He doesn't let partisan politics influence him trying to get justice against Israel and how these horrible victims were affected by Epstein. Can you tell me? Can you tell me what had happened? Okay, here we go. Knight and the Bishop's going to explain it. You ready? Here we go. I can't wait. Finally, an explanation. It's not about politics. He's just doing the right thing. So for 4 years, the reason that this man didn't say anything about the Epstein files was... By the way, if you have an explanation, you should have been on Massie's campaign. Anyways, while you dig that up, we'll continue. Oh, here we go. Okay. Woo, here we go. The reason Thomas Massie didn't bring up Epstein at all and how Mossad was connected was because there were people that were going to get prosecuted in New York. That barred Massie from mentioning how Mossad was controlling all of this, etc., etc. Okay. Well, hey, a lot of judges said to redact a lot of this information. Why is Massie going against them now? All of a sudden he got his balls? Didn't have them then. He just trusted the Democrats were going to do the right thing and prosecute. Has nothing to do with the federal government. touching the stuff. The federal government wouldn't touch the stuff because Biden's full of shit. And the Biden administration's full of shit. And they weren't doing anything with it. And Thomas Massie was perfectly fine with that. That's the truth. Was Massie at least saying, hey, these victims, this heinous man, Jeffrey Epstein, his victims, we want justice for them. Release the files. Israel's connected. Did he at least go to New York where these trials were allegedly happening and saying, what's the status here? Can I see proof? Or was he very uncurious? Did he just hear a rumor? Oh, the Biden administration's taking care of it. Massie wasn't running for Senate. I don't understand the implication. He didn't know about them. Thomas Massie didn't know. That's it. So just to be clear, here's the argument. Internet celebrities like Dan Bongino got put on Trump's cabinet. So then Thomas Massie's eating popcorn and humming going, I think I'll listen to what this Dan Bongino guy said on his internet podcast and said, wait, oh my God, Israel was involved with Jeffrey Epstein? There's a bunch of victims that didn't get justice? Oh, now I'm going to make this my issue. And he was unaware of it for 4 years. Well, then I'm glad he's out of office. He's a real shitty congressperson. If the issue he's most concerned with, he sat there and let it be extended for 4 years without the least bit of curiosity and was only made aware of it by internet podcasters. That seems to be a very shitty congressperson. What else doesn't he know? That's right. Plenty of people were talking about the Epstein list during the Biden administration. The hoops people will jump through. Well, maybe Massie didn't hear about it. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe. Maybe he didn't know. He didn't know until Dan Bongino was appointed to the FBI, and then he was like, ooh, and Kosh Patel, and then he was like, I better go back and see the sort of things Bongino and Patel talked about. What's that? Who's this Epstein fellow? Hold the phone. This Epstein guy, he sounds like a real jerk. What's this? I'm going to look into this. This Epstein fellow. Oh, my God. Have you guys heard about this? Anyone, excuse me, fellow Republicans, have you heard about this Epstein fellow? Yes, I didn't know about it either until Kosh Patel and Dan Bongino were appointed by Trump. Now, this guy sounds like a real jerk. Let's continue.
Once it got underway. And that's also, it wasn't just the grassroots donors. We had a long time, one of my longest friends, he actually started this.
I want to see if he says anything about where he's
maybe I can get him out here
doing going forward.
To take some credit.
Like, I don't want to take anything away from him. Clearly, Massie's going to, thank his supporters, which he should do. So I'm not taking that away from him.
Crowd, just pick him up. Clip. I see one of my being in Congress, but being in a side-by-side racing through the woods with Bobby Sauce. So, and getting to that point, I want to thank the influencers who came all this way and produced. She's clapping. This is my batteries when I come back from one generation and the next generation. Executive.
I don't know. I guess I don't care that much. I don't know that I can handle 25 minutes of just, I want to thank this person. I want to thank. If anyone has any clips of anything that it was worthwhile, I did see that, I guess at the end they were like, hey, maybe we'll run, they were chanting like Massie 2028 as a presidential run, and he's suggesting maybe this is the Groyper president. At least it's a name. You could do worse. So I don't know. I ultimately, like I said, my objection to Massie was more when Charlie Kirk gets killed, and his commentary is we need to tone the rhetoric down on the Republican files. I have no time of day for him after that. Will Ed Galeran be better? I don't know. Probably not. Hey, if you guys, it's totally cool. I get it. You're going with the Obama. I didn't know about it until I read it in the newspaper. The old Barack Obama defense. No problem. No problem. I get it. That's no problem. Can you show me a quote of Massie saying, I didn't know anything about Epstein until I heard Trump talk about it in June? Just one quote would be great. That's great. Everyone's willing. It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing the hoops people are willing to jump through for something simple as that. They just say, look, yeah, okay, he has an axe to grind with Trump. So what? Does that mean he's wrong about this? I mean, it is absolutely insane the hoops people go through. Well, here's what's happening. What was the logical question, DD? June 2024 is when Trump started talking about the Epstein files. Why do you think it's on Massie's radar before it was on Trump's when Trump personally knew Epstein? I think that it was on Massie's radar before because Massie, along with Trump and everyone else, whether they talked about it or not, was aware of who Jeffrey Epstein was aware of his alleged suicide, was aware of the conspiracies around that, was aware of the allegations that powerful people were doing things. It was talked about by many of the people that were Massie supporters and many people that were in the mainstream news. Why do you think it was possible that Thomas Massie knew less than the average Republican voter about Jeffrey Epstein, an issue that he now claims is the most important? I'm asking you a simple question. So why did Massie know less than the average Republican voter on Jeffrey Epstein? That's a logical question. Now, I will say this. The one part is I really don't care if Massie lost, I don't. But I have to admit, and I'll just say it this once, you name them, I'm happy to see you squirm. I really am. And like I've said, I honestly think the anti-Jewish people, if anyone's being paid by Israel, it's them. Because nothing makes me want to support Israel more than these fucking people. It's just the truth. Because politicians spend most of their times with lobbyists and fundraising, but not Massie. It is. It's about listen. I wanna say that a lot of you people that are anti-Israel, they committed all these crimes. It's the biggest issue. I do truly believe that you ultimately want the country to go in the right direction, and I sympathize with the idea of foreign influence. I really do. But I have to admit, you're some of the most piss annoying, and you're my enemies if you suggest voting for Democrats. So it does make me a little happy to watch you guys have a bad day. If I'm honest, is Galern a better option than Massie? So I've repeated this answer. Jason, I saw you were here when I said this earlier. I'll repeat it again slowly for you. I know a lot of you anti-Jew haters, you have to talk slower for you guys. I don't know if Ed Galern is a better option than Massie. Probably not. Do I need to speak slower? Did you get that? I'm a psyop now. Who's paying me? Someone must be paying me, right? Yes, that's it. I'm a psyop. I'm being paid. That must be it. Yes. Mm-hmm. Thomas Massie has implied that Donald Trump is protecting PDFs. The perspective of doing that as an elected Republican probably makes him more damaging to things that are important on Trump's agenda, like keeping the border secure, lowering the federal workforce to the lowest level since 1966, having justices and judges appointed that have done things, overturned Chevron deference, Roe v. Wade, VRA cases, all of the positive things that I want to see on the domestic agenda. When you have someone on the right that is the biggest tool of the Democrats who will say the most heinous things about Trump or heavily imply it, that Trump is intentionally protecting PDFs, all the while he's out there shooting up his mouth saying, I promise I'm going to show you this, then he doesn't do that. And then his big grand expose is basically him and his buddy Ro Khanna releasing these names of innocent men who have their lives destroyed because Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna demanded that their names be unredacted after they voted for the bill that forced the names to be redacted. Yeah, I would say because of that, Ed Galarian's probably a better option. I would say that. That's what I would say. So for me, did Thomas Massie receive any money from foreign influence? Just curious. Just curious. If we're going to take a stance on, I want anyone to lose that received money from any American organization that advocates for issues of a foreign country, that's fine. No problem. As long as we're willing to apply that standard equally. I'm with the idea that I would like to see foreign influence cut out. I don't know how you do that. Like if let's say I'm like, I love Spain. I want policies that are Spain friendly. And I win the Powerball and decide I'm going to create a PAC that's going to give a bunch of money to candidates. And one of the issues I want to see is them to improve trade relations with Spain. What do we do in this country to stop that? Like, what are you supposed to do? I don't know. Would you like to call in Polycarpians? By all means, call in. I don't want to just debate low-tier simps. I want to talk to intelligent people like you that accuse me of being a psyop. Say the word. You're more than welcome to call in. As long as you abide by terms of service, no problem. And you can show us what real intelligent people that aren't psyops think. Right? No problem. No issue whatsoever, right? Should be easy for you. All I did was debate low-tier people. You're clearly above that. You clearly have your facts in order. No problem. John Billy, how would you like to call in as well? No problem. Show me where I've hit people off when I know I'm losing. I don't believe that's ever been the case. You have the opportunity to call in and prove me wrong as well. Go ahead. Happy to do it. Happy to talk to y'all. What? So I cut you off? No, I'm telling you I won't cut you off. As long as you're not violating terms of service, we can even put a timer up. You go a minute, I go a minute. Now, it's amazing how many big talkers there are. Big talkers. I'm low tier. None of them will ever call in. It sounds like someone that knows they're going to lose. I would call in, but I'm afraid I'll be cut off, even though you can't point to me doing that. All right. Well, hey, John Billy, thanks, man. Appreciate it. You could, if you'd like, you could just put, I'm a coward. I'm afraid. Where's the other guy? Polycarpians, where you at? Okay. So we can nip that in the bud, that I'll only talk to low tier people. I won't talk to these geniuses. Okay. We can move on with the show then. Excellent. Thank you so much for your time. Cowards that make accusations, then are afraid to actually talk about it. Appreciate it. Same as it ever was. Just like again, the so many of these people, they're indistinguishable from left wingers. Indistinguishable. Same tactics. Sure. Looking for all the YouTube videos where you cut people up. Seriously, are you going to call in or not, John Billy? You can call in. Just say, I'm a scared bitch. I know I'd get wrecked. You could just say that. You could be honest with everyone. You could do that. I'm scared. Just say that. Just say, we all see it. We know it. Should be easy. All I do is debate low tier people. That's how you can tell people they're very upset that Massie lost. I get it. So it's come on the channel and be like, you're a meanie, you're a psyop, you're a Zionist, you only talk to low tier people. Cool, would you like to call in? No, I don't. Okay. I'm not getting aggressive. I mean, yes, I do debate low tier people. It's one of the funniest things. Like the accusation that the same with Andrew Wilson, the same with Charlie Kirk, all these people. You only debate low tier people. Who are the non-low tiers that you want me to debate? Line them up. I debate the people the left think are the best, like Destiny. Well, that's still low tier, says all these people in there. Okay. Point me in the direction. Not my fault. People tell me I debate low tier people. I say, would you like to debate me? They say no. Does that imply that they're also low tier? They're acknowledging it? I don't know. Even you, ex-Wilbeck, I think I've been pretty nice to you. We've gone back and forth, but offers there. Call in. That one guy, Brian Shaprio, I have heard he's good. Anyways, that's it with Thomas Massie. Where do we go from here with Massie? Well, I think ultimately, I assume you're talking to me. He doesn't realize that debating him is not the marker of something being true. What does that even mean? What's the implication here? Is this your way of saying, I know I would lose the debate, but still what I'm saying is true? Is that what you're saying? Is that your clever way of phrasing it that way? I saw someone say this earlier on X. It was funny. I was watching an exchange, and someone said, debate's stupid anyways. It doesn't prove anything. And the person responded, how so? And he's like, well, the Greeks were good at debating, blah, 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 but that still led to bad conclusion. It's like, you're actually having a low-impact debate right now. Debate's just basically a formal argument. Anyways, I think I've spent enough time encouraging the trolls to call in. For better or worse with Donald Trump, here's the truth, right? Trump is a petty man. Sometimes that pettiness becomes useful. I'm happy that Trump's petty against the media. I'm happy that Trump's petty against a lot of the left-wing people like James Comey. Good. That's good. He's petty against the right people, and he should be with those people. Sometimes he's petty against people that it makes no sense to me. Remember his first term when he was tweeting about fucking Rosie O'Donnell? Dude, you're the president. You won. Rosie's a nobody. You could stop talking about Rosie O'Donnell. It's not really necessary. So. But here's the thing with Trump. If you attack him and say him, basically in the ways that Massie's implying on these Epstein issues, Trump's going to be petty. Here's another example of Trump's pettiness. It sounds like this happened today. So there's this parliamentarian that was appointed under Obama, I believe. And the parliamentarian in the Senate, this is a layman's explanation of it. And I have to be honest, even I'm confused about this. But basically, the parliamentarian gets to make judgment rules on the types of issues that are being voted upon. Some, she could say, merely needs a majority. Others requires 60 in the Senate. Well, given the divided nature of our Senate, it's almost impossible to get 60 to vote on anything. So anytime the parliamentarian says, no, you need 60 for that, it's basically a non-starter. And so the parliamentarian has been ruling specific things in some of Trump's agenda would require 60 votes. Now, I don't know if this is true, but this sounds like something that could be true, and it highlights Trump's pettiness. Allegedly, Trump was on the phone with John Thune, the leader of the Republicans in the Senate today, and was like, I want you to fire the parliamentarian, which is well within his rights. He could do it. And Thune allegedly said no. And Trump said, okay, and hung up the phone and immediately put out the endorsement of Ken Paxton because he knew John Thune wanted him to endorse John Cornyn. Pettiness. Okay, motherfucker. Won't do what I ask? Fine. Click. That's a level of pettiness. Happens to result in a policy that I like. I think Ken Paxton's far superior to John Cornyn. And I hope that John Cornyn goes down in flames in his primary. That's my opinion. Yes, Thune is a Democrat, right. So, it's not great. I wish that I had a president. I can't help myself. I'm going to be someone that criticizes people like Trump. I will. If I was in Congress, I ran for Congress in 2019. If I would have won, I would have been like, what the fuck are you doing with Bill Barr? Why aren't you fucking charging people like James Comey? What the fuck are you doing? And it could well be that Donald Trump would have been like, fuck this guy. Fuck him. We're going to primary this motherfucker. That could well have been the case. Or sometimes Trump's fickle. Sometimes people say, I don't like him, he sucks, and then all's forgiven after a while if they get on board supporting the key things that he once supported. I don't know. I am saying Massie, I think, particularly with the Epstein stuff, which was his attacks on Trump, I think that Massie was positioning himself to be like post-Trump's party, right? Once Trump's gone. If Trump's administration is seen as unpopular, he's a guy that could rise from the ashes. It's a shrewd political move. Go from a representative to all of a sudden coming out in the other corner, being a Republican that could say, I push back against Trump on key things. He sees an angle right now where a lot of people on the conservative side of the ledger are pissed off about what Trump was something, and he could say, I could jump on that. That's why he didn't bring it up during the Democrats. It didn't help him politically. Once he saw a vehicle to potentially help him politically, and I think he believed that he would be able to overcome Trump's animosity. That's what I think. And I think once he saw about 8-9 months ago that Trump was like, fuck this guy, I want him primary, he started to realize the heat was on a little. And at that point, I think he made overtures to some degree, like, hey, yeah, I'm working with key parts of the Trump agenda and blah, blah, blah. Right? Where he was trying to be like, well, I'd like to keep this position. And let's be honest, I think he underestimated, and as did everyone, I think, the amount of money that would be spent on the race. There's obviously a lot of groups that are interested in pro-Israel politics that are going against Massie because Massie's put himself at the forefront in the Republican Party of being anti-Israel. I don't disagree with them entirely. But I think the amount of money that they spent, the amount of ire that Trump had for him, that's it. That's what happened. If you come at the king, you shouldn't miss. Trump's batting almost 1,000 here recently. We'll see what happens with John Cornyn. Those Indiana people that refused to redraw the maps, they're all gone in the Republican Party. I think Trump would be far better invested to spend his time attacking someone like Lindsey Graham or John Thune than Thomas Massie, in my opinion. If I had to choose between Thune being out of office or Massie, I'd take Thune out 100 out of 100 times. That's my position. Axel Steele, if he was concerned about the individual when it came to the Epstein files, why didn't he talk about the Epstein files for 4 years under Joe Biden? Well, we'll see if Paxton could beat Tallarico. One of the reasons that Trump will go after someone like Thomas Massie, but not someone like John Thune, is because Thune has power behind him, but Massie doesn't. Massie has isolated himself. So, for me, it doesn't matter. You might say, I think Trump's a petty asshole. Massie wasn't worth primarying like this. I don't like the foreign influence. I sort of agree with all of that. If I had to be pressed, I probably would have rather Massie won. I know I've been contradictory here, just fucking with the pro-Massie people. But probably pressed, that's what I've said. But it was like a horse apiece to me. I didn't give a shit either way. I'll be honest, I don't know much about Ed Galarian, to be honest. But I know instead of like approaching the Epstein files in a way that could have like not attacked the leader of his party, he sort of did it in a way that blatantly attacked the leader of his party in what is going to be the Democrats' biggest attack against Donald Trump, that and the Iran war. So Trump's going to push back, predictably. And Trump, for better or worse, still controls the party. That's it. Now, does Massie decide to run as an independent? I don't think so. I don't think he will. Will Massie run for a different office? Can I see Massie taking a run at sort of presidential politics? Maybe. Maybe. I don't think at this point he would be successful. For the same reason that I was sort of saying I don't think that like the Nick Fuentes plan of voting Democrat will be successful. Where is the financial support going to come for a Thomas Massie type candidate to run a presidential election? Like you're probably going to need $1 billion at some point to win a primary than a general. I just don't know. And the other thing is politics is ruthless. Regardless of the fact that there was a shitload of money spent in this race, Thomas Massie did lose to a relative unknown. So big money donors probably aren't going to be willing to take a chance on him. They'd probably rather have a fresh face that hasn't had a loss like this. Not guaranteed, but that's usually the way things like this go. And you're talking about needing a new type of donor. Most of the donors that would be willing to give big money that are focused against Israel are going to be Democrats. I don't know where the right-wing big money comes for donors or for a ground game that are anti-Israel. And they don't really support libertarians much either, right? So, I don't know. Is Massie a piece of shit person? I don't know that. I don't know. I'm not willing to, jump on all the allegations. He calls his dick a pine cone or whatever. Whatever. I don't give a shit. I just don't care. I assume they're all scumbags. Until proven otherwise, I assume everyone in an elected office is a scumbag. And if I would have won, I wouldn't have blamed you for assuming I was a scumbag. By the way, you should assume I'm a scumbag because I'm a streamer. We also all suck. So there you go. That's the safe assumption. You can't follow Trump and call Massie a bad person. Why can't I? Why not? Explain the rationale. Why can't I do that? I'm happy to hear that. Why can't I vote for Trump and support Trump and call Massie a bad person? Because Trump's an awful person. Okay, so explain the rationale why I can't vote for an awful person and call another person an awful person. Let's say I assume that Trump's an awful person. Okay, and I say, Alec Baldwin's an awful person. And you'd say, you can't say that. You voted for Trump. Yeah, I can. See? I didn't vote for Trump because I think he's a good person. By the way, that wouldn't have impacted my vote on Thomas Massie either. I didn't get to vote. If I had the chance to vote, I'd have probably voted for Massie in this election. I'm just making the point as far as, okay, now that Massie's not a politician, I don't have any reason to believe he's an awful person. I don't know. Maybe he is, maybe not. That's all I'm saying. But I can certainly vote for someone and say other people are terrible people if I choose. It's not hypocritical. That's not hypocritical in the least bit. How is that? So just to be clear, if I voted for Trump and then say, my neighbor that cheated on his wife's a bad guy, you're like, you can't do that. You voted for a guy that cheated on his wife, so you can't say that that guy's a bad guy. That's your argument? What sense does that make? Yes, I could absolutely say that I voted for a guy at the very least has cheated on his wife, with Ivanka Trump with Marla Maples. That at least is confirmed. Why can't I say other people are terrible people as well? Makes no sense. Are you telling me that you've never voted for someone that might be a bad person? Is that your claim? That doesn't make sense to me. Now, interestingly, the last thing to say about Massie is he still has time in office. I mean, he'll be there till what, January? And I think if you're a Massie fan, he has no incentive to not go no holds bar now, right? I mean, he could yell about Israel every day if he wants. He could yell about the Epstein files even more than he was. Am I wrong? And maybe that's, if you're an or if you're a pro-Massie person, maybe that's a silver lining. Maybe he had to restrain himself somewhat because he still had to have a veneer of playing ball in order to, have a chance to win. And now he doesn't have to be encumbered by that, possibly, right? So you pro-Massie people, is that something that you've thought of? Is that something you're looking forward to? Seeing what Massie does here in the next few months? Who knows? Maybe he does. Fucking, even if it's illegal, he releases some names and some absolute proof of people that committed heinous crimes on Epstein Island. I'm not cheering for Thomas Massie to break the law, don't get me wrong. But if he did that and there actually was proof, of course I'd want those people held accountable. Right? Does he have a write-in chance? I would say no. A write-in. I mean, there's a chance that he could run as an independent write-in. I don't think that he would almost need some backroom deal with the Democrat at that point to win, because he lost the primary. So he'd need to pull Democrat voters for that. And I just don't, Tucker's got a bad record of people he's brought on sort of supporting that have taken some L's. Yeah, legally running as an independent. I don't know if he could do that or not. I'd have to look into it, to be honest. So, I look for Thomas Massie, if I'm honest with you. So I gave the possible silver lining for the Massie people. I think around this time next year, Thomas Massie will be a frequent guest on MSNBC. That's my guess. I think he'll be a Michael Steele or Marjorie Taylor Greene. I guess Marjorie Taylor Greene is a better. But that's what I see is likely in the future for Thomas Massie. So, CNN, glowing New York Times pieces, All right, that's Massie. I know I fucked with people. Let me be honest, though. Look, there's a lot of people that supported Massie for reasons I think are quite noble. Even if I had my problems with Massie, which I tried to outline the pros and cons of what I felt about Massie. I really did. So I feel bad for the people. Though you have to admit, there is like the constant, you're a psyop, you're this, you wear a tiny hat, you get paid by Israel. Like, when those people are pissed off because their guy loses, I'll admit there's part of me that smiles. But to be honest, I would have rather Massie won, I think. I really would have. So, I feel bad for you guys. Yeah, he's going to be on Brian Shaprio's show. Of course. That's that. Let's read Super Chats. Let's get some more of those in. Now that I pissed off half the audience. That's okay. Mo Farmer, $2 over. Thank you so much over there. On Rumble. We really appreciate that. We'll take those $2. And he says, Massie losers are right. They control you, or at least the rent-free space in their heads. Yep. And then over on the YouTube side of things, Sear Sight, $5 says, good evening, Rob. Good evening to you. Hunter Killer, $5 says, Massie talked about his principles over party, while the Dems chant, kill the boar. His brand is not going to win against that. Yeah, and there is a big problem with that. That's what I was getting to when he said it's time for both of us to tone down the rhetoric. When it came to Charlie Kirk getting shot, it's not the right attitude for the moment. 559 Texas, $10. Thanks, man. God bless, brother. Glad you had a wonderful day. I'm sure most people will say Massie lost because of the Jays. LOL. KBM, thanks for being a new member. Really appreciate it. Sometimes it says people are new members and they're not. So if you're an old member, thank you for that as well. Naughty Jerem, $5. Thank you so much. Always appreciate it. Jabroni big time. $5 says it'll be all Epstein all the time until the Democrats get back in. Then it'll never be mentioned again and cover up completed. Yeah, my guess would be had Massie won and Democrats won and he stayed there for another 8 years, he would have got real quiet about the Epstein files once the Democrats came in and not much was done. He would have found something else to move on to. That's my suspicion. I don't know. It's so fucking weird because part of me is like, I'd rather Massie, because what Massie claims to stand for, I'm like, okay, there's a lot of that I like. But then I can't get around, like, where the fuck were you for 4 years? During the Biden, how'd you vote to raise the debt ceiling under the Biden administration? How'd you do that? All of a sudden your principles kicked in when it's arguing against Trump and Republicans. Cool. As long as those same principles apply to the Democrats, it didn't seem that was the case. Especially with the Epstein files. I don't get it. And I mean, to me, I keep going back and forth on it because I want to believe that he is who he says he is. But on the other hand, when I think through it logically, the most logical explanation is he merely saw this as a political vehicle. And that's why he jumped on it. And that's not respectable. Zach Gelpy, $5 says, he's probably also adding the independent expenditures from nonprofits similar to mine. Perhaps. When he talks about how much was spent. Massie does, maybe. Sepulba, $10 says, here's my contribution for the 7K euro. Thank you. Appreciate it. And then Christopher Scott, $5 says, I'm paying Rob, but I'm not a bagel. I'm actually Brazilian. How about that? FDNY, $2 says, L'chaim, brother, from Bibby. Thank you. Come on, Bibby, $2. Thanks, man. How long, Nate? $20 says, Massie was the only voice in Congress who voted pro-homestead and maintained a pro-off-grid lifestyle. Independent farmers lost a voice. Same groups who went against him refused to support Casey Butch. Go ahead and vote Dem. Yeah, I mean, there you go. I've heard about some of his off-the-grid, like the farming stuff, which is cool. Yeah, that sucks. Mo Farmer, $5 says, Massie losers, they do control you? Or at least they live rent-free space in your mind. The Jewish folks, I believe. 16-ounce ribeye, $5 says, Trump's endorsements have been on point for the most part, but Ed is a phony moron, in my opinion. Main reason I think Massie would have been better overall. That could be true. And then Blasterbot, $10 says, the real problem is nobody's willing to talk about dinosaurs. It's always Epstein this and Jay's that. What about the Truden being a tiny and adorable? It matters to you. Well, of course it matters. Of course. So another reason that I think maybe, sort of the inverse of this. Thomas Massie, if he's seen as an America First, a real America First candidate, and it's like, well, Trump screwed him over, whatever, today. He also endorsed Ken Paxton, who is far more America First than old fuddy-duddy John Cornyn. And, I mean, absolutely incredible. First off, the political machinations of Ken Paxton are something to be marveled at. It's one thing to beat an incumbent like Thomas Massie. It's another thing to beat a Senate incumbent in a primary. That's tough. That's really tough. And John Cornyn was one of the sort of, elite senators in a sense. And it seemed nigh on impossible with the amount of resources, money, etc. that he would be able to spend, that he would lose a primary to Ken Paxton. And Paxton, basically with gumption, was staying in the race with Cornyn. Still, I don't know if he was favored, but I would still put my money on Cornyn. Then, of course, we had about 3 months ago that there was an imminent announcement coming that Trump was going to endorse someone in the Republican primary. Now, there's two reasons that this was likely to occur months ago. Number one, in the Senate, the incumbents have like a we want to stay in power rule. So incumbents that are seen as like the old guard establishment, they make sure that they spend a lot of money on each other to ensure that they win. So you have all these voices like in a block like, hey, you know, John Thune and Grant, all these people that are like, hey, Trump, you need to endorse Cornyn. Of course, their argument is, well, Cornyn's proven and he'll easily beat Tallarico. Paxton would have a more difficult time. Right? That's sort of the argument. So they're going to protect their own. So that's why, especially in the Senate, so that's why you would expect them to put pressure on Trump early. The other reason was, if it's a close primary, they're going to spend millions upon millions of millions of dollars to protect one of their own. So if Trump would have came out early and said, I endorse John Cornyn, probably that would have had some impact that would have really bolstered John Cornyn and made them spend less money on the race. Now, as it is, let me see if I could look this up. Obviously, this is just bullshit looking at a glance. Republicans have spent a shitload of money propping up John Cornyn in this primary. Cornyn's campaign and allied groups have allegedly spent between $70 and $90 million. Total Republican side, 88 to 100 million plus. Some of these were coming from Thune's own super PAC. Comparatively, Paxton has spent roughly $10 million. So for all those people complaining that Massie was outspent near 2 to 1, Paxton's being outspent 10 to 1. And he's not basically getting any institutional support from like the Republicans. So they are putting pressure on Trump about 3 months ago. We want you to endorse John Cornyn. Okay, that's the background. Now, Trump, of course, is very frustrated, particularly with Republicans in the Senate and John Thune, primarily because of the SAVE Act, but also other things. And if you remember, if you go back 3 months ago, what was the theme of my channel for like 3 weeks? What the fuck have Republicans in the Senate done? What have they done? I can't think of a Republican Congress where you had the House, the Senate, and the presidency where the legislative did as little as they've done in this administration. There's a lot of good things to talk about that came from this administration, almost all of them from the executive branch or judicial branch. What has the legislative branch done? Have they enshrined securing the border into law? No. Did they build the wall? No. Balanced budget? No. What have they done? They managed to keep spending a bunch of money, and they pushed forth a bill condemning socialism. That's about it. So, at this point, Trump was harping on the SAVE Act, which the SAVE Act alone, all the things that you may be pissed about Trump, that's another one of those things that arguably could have more of a lasting impact than any of the other things that Trump's done for the good or the bad. There's a lot of shit like that. A lot of these court cases are like that. We're going to see implications of that 20 years into the future. So, Trump's really trying to negotiate with Thune and these senators, these Republicans, you need to force a talking filibuster, or you need to end the filibuster, and you need to get the SAVE Act passed. Of course, I gave you the inside scoop, which I couldn't believe hardly anyone was talking about. The truth is, Republicans aren't begrudgingly holding on to the filibuster because it's some norm. The truth is, they want the filibuster to remain so that the truth doesn't come out, which is enough of them don't support Trump's agenda. They don't. And right now, with the filibuster being in place, they could say, oh, those dastardly Democrats, they're just filibustering everything, and therefore we can't get this shit passed. But the truth is, even if it was 50 votes required, they still wouldn't have the votes to pass the SAVE Act. That's the truth. And a lot of these other issues, securing the border, etc. There are key Republicans in the Senate that are still the old guard establishment Republicans that don't fucking like Trump. The Mitch McConnell type people. They don't like him. Now, they don't want to publicly say it because they know Trump will then come out like he did with Massie. And it'll hurt these people politically. So that's what was going on. And then in walks Ken Paxton with possibly one of the most effective political Hail Marys I've ever seen. And if you remember, I was doing shows like, any day now, Trump's going to come out and endorse Cornyn. It's going to be a disaster. Paxton's really had Trump's back the entire time. So Paxton comes out and says, hey, John Cornyn, I will consider dropping out of this race. All but de facto giving you the primary if you get the filibuster removed and the SAVE Act passed. Now, there's two potential reasons that Paxton did this. One, because he really was like, that would be worth it, and if this is what it takes, me falling on my sword, I'm doing it. That's possible. The other possibility is Paxton knew the truth, which was they ain't doing it. They're not going to do it no matter what. They're not going to fucking do it. They'll pull Trump's leg until 2028. Every day coming up with another excuse. They ain't doing it. They will not pass the SAVE Act. It will not happen. But they're going to string Trump along and Trump's going to buy it. So Paxton makes that claim. And I think that really impressed Trump. I think Trump was like, okay, there you go. Everybody wins. Republicans, you guys said you don't want to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on this primary. You really think John Cornyn's the man to win? You're concerned about the Senate numbers? You get everything you want. SAVE Act gets passed, which is what I want. Where's the downside? And Thune's like, no. Now, I don't like Thune particularly, but let's steelman Thune's position for a minute. Maybe Thune loves the SAVE Act. I don't think he does. But arguably, let's say he does. He knows the truth that he's talking to Republicans that are like, no. If the filibuster was magically ended tomorrow, I'm still not voting for the fucking SAVE Act. And a bunch of this other shit that Trump wants. I'm not going to do it. But Thune can't come out and say that. Trump would be like, who? Who are these people? Let's put them on blast. So Thune's got to, he's in a tough position. He's got to, smoke and mirrors, oh, Trump, look over here. Ha, ha, ha. So, Trump probably sees this shit about the parliamentarian today. He's like, hey, Thune, this is something you can do. Easy peasy. You alone have the power to get rid of this parliamentarian. And Thune's like, nah. And Trump's like, okay. That's it. So now I think this makes Paxton the clear favorite. Republicans were furious today. Susan Collins allegedly was like, basically like, we don't know what Trump's doing. This is costing us a bunch of money, blah, blah, blah. John Thune gave a little press conference where he was basically like, we're still going to try our best. I still like John Cornyn, blah, blah, blah. But you can tell he's livid. Now, this is the test. Can a more America First type candidate in Ken Paxton, can he beat Tallarico? I am not sold that John Cornyn was an easy victory and Paxton's a difficult victory. I'm not sold on that. I don't know that there's much wiggle room between Cornyn and Paxton in the general election, except sabotaging Republicans. But to me, it was certainly good news. And one of the arguments that I have with someone like Paxton getting the nod is, without a Trump victory in 2024 or in 2026, it is impossible that a guy like Ken Paxton would ever have been remotely able to unseat John Cornyn. It just wouldn't be possible. Even if you hate Trump, there is no doubt that the election of Trump has moved the Overton window and the direction of the party in that direction in a positive way. A Trump loss or voting Democrats in 2026 only serves to move the party back to the John Cornyn side. By the way, that side's going to be pro-Israel. So you can say, well, Trump cost Massie, which is true, he did. But you can also say Trump caused Paxton, which he did. Which is definitely bigger because it's a Senate seat. Some more super chat. Shop Chop $5 says they may have a fiddler on the roof. We got whips on the wheel. And then laughing, $10 says the internet MAGA is gloating. I say let them, because if it turns out the guy replacing Massie is just another establishment uniparty rhino, they will look real stupid. I suppose it sounds that there's more likelihood of him being a Trump yes man than that, but now, I have other things to talk about today, but those were the two big political stories. And then I had some more cultural stories that I was going to talk about. One second, I'm listening to something real quick to see if I can put... I'm listening to something to see if there's any racial slurs in this clip that I'm going to play here. Well, we'll just play it. We'll risk it. It's not a Nick clip. All right, so we're getting out of politics for a little here. Did anybody watch the roast of Kevin Hart? We're going to do a little... Getting fatigued. We're going to do a little fatigue here. Anybody see this? So Shane Gillis and The Rock was there. It was the roast of Kevin Hart. Yeah, I saw clips too. That's all I saw. Let me start by saying this. There were a lot of offensive jokes told there. There was jokes about Charlie Kirk's deaths. There were jokes at the expense of black people. There were jokes at the expense of Jewish people. There were jokes at the expense of George Floyd. right? There were white people telling black jokes. Yeah, Cat Williams was there. Pete Davidson's joke about Charlie Kirk. Look, the way I look at it is, comedy's comedy. And especially in a roast format, you got to expect the most heinous things will be said. So, that's my take on it. I am so tired of this fucking... I watched fucking Drewski put whiteface on and mock Erica Kirk. But the suggestion that I wear blackface to mock Diddy's friend Drewski would be, oh my gosh, you can't do that. I'm so fucking tired of this double standard. I am so fucking tired of it. I do not give a fuck at all about black people's fragile feelings, and you can't make fun of us. At a fucking roast. I can understand if you're sitting down at a fucking Denny's and all of a sudden some dude you don't know, starts shouting off racial jokes. Got it. That would piss me off too. But you go to a fucking roast, and now I gotta listen to fucking some black comedians, but other black folks that are fucking butthurt about this. Fuck you. Now, I don't know. I watched this 2 nights ago, I think. I don't know who this guy is. Kill a Crew. He looks real intimidating. This is an intimidating guy here. Here we go. Kill a Crew here. Looks intimidating. Now, I don't know shit about this guy. But I watched him. He's real pissed off about Shane Gillis and other folks at the roast of Kevin Hart. Oh my gosh. How could you make jokes at the expense of black folks? Don't you know they're babies to be coddled? Don't you know their pain is never ending and they must always be given preferential treatment in every social situation? Don't you know that? Don't you know? So he's real mad about jokes that he heard some white comedians like Shane Gillis making. Oh my God, at a roast. So let's listen to a little of what he says. Hopefully we don't get too many N-words, but seeing as how he's a black man, you know.
I see a clip of a white comedian.
A white comedian? Oh no!
Making a joke of George Floyd's death.
Okay, you've piqued my interest. Sounds good. What do we got here?
It wasn't fun. It wasn't comedy. It was racist. But I thought that was the only joke.
It's not comedy. It's racist. Well, who the hell are you to determine what's comedy and not? Were you upset at the Charlie Kirk joke? Did you say that's not comedy? Would that be racist against white people or that's okay? How's that work? You know? Now listen, I actually push back on a lot of the insensitivity around George Floyd's death. I didn't really jump in on it. But we're talking about a fucking roast. A roast! The whole point is to be as offensive as possible. Unless you're Norm Macdonald, the legend, and then you just say, people have the face of a flower. A cauliflower. But that's Norm. No one else could pull that shit off, right? So, you're gonna clutch pearls about angry jokes? And by the way, I feel the same way. If you're pissed off about the Charlie Kirk joke, get out and breathe a little. I found it fucking grotesque how people make fun of Erica Kirk and how they laughed and mocked Charlie Kirk, etc. In a roast, I give a little more leeway. There's a rich history of intentionally being as offensive as possible. I've watched them, even in this, they've made fun of women that have been sexually assaulted in the most heinous of ways. And I watched those women laugh. That's sort of the whole point. So if you're some, activist and you're going to get pissed off because a famous black comedian who's been quite successful, I think largely pretty funny, Kevin Hart, is laughing along with people making jokes about him and his race or about George Floyd, go fuck yourself.
of the Kevin Hart roast that people had a problem with. So I said, I'm going to need to address this, but I can wait. And then my phone continued to blow up. And I had brothers and sisters saying, Doc, this wasn't the only joke.
No! That's terrible. Can you imagine the ancestral trauma that was brought up by hearing not just one joke that it made fun of a black person, but multiple? No! Pfft. Horrible. I mean, this is enough to make 13% of the population commit 50% of the homicides. What could be worse than these jokes, right?
It was dozens of disrespectful and
Did you see how he said that? Disrespectful. Holy shit. Really, really enunciating that one. Good.
insulting comedic material. It starts off with Shane Gillis. He's the host. I never heard of the devil.
The devil. Well, okay. I mean, if you haven't heard of Shane Gillis, I think you're really missing out. He's actually fucking hilarious. In my opinion. I would be interested to know which comedians he likes. Something tells me he doesn't have much of a sense of humor.
But I know who he is now.
Ooh.
He starts out by saying, I want to thank Netflix for choosing me to co-host.
It fuzzed out a little. His own equipment was so shocked by the outrageous
This celebration of Black excellence. And when I heard that, I said, okay, that's an underhanded jab at Black excellence. He's basically trying to say, ain't nothing excellent about y'all.
I mean, fair enough. I guess we're at the point where someone with a smirk on their face says Black excellence, and you know that they you know that it's like, what are you talking about, Black excellence? What do you mean? At least he's self-aware, right?
Y'all just a bunch of dumb niggas. That's what he was trying to say.
Hey, thanks for peeping that word out, too. You can say it, but I can't. If I say it, then you're allowed to beat the shit out of me, right? Isn't that the rules now? You know? And then allegedly, if I defend myself, I get $1.25 million in bail set, you know? But we know the rules are different if you're a different ethnicity and you want to commit heinous crimes. Anyways, let's hear more about being outraged.
Shane said, they told me to be racist. He said this. They told me to be racist. He said it on the mic.
No! Well, that's it. Cancel your Netflix subscription, folks. Holy shit. He said they told him to be racist. You know, I would have thought when I heard that, like, he's just making a jab, like, hey, it's an offensive roast. They told me, go for it. Be racist, be offensive. But no, now I see this gentleman's illustrated and opened my eyes. Oh my gosh, this is a horrible act of racism.
And listen to this joke from Shane Neanderthal Gillis.
Now, I just want to say this was the part in the video that I liked the most because unironically, listening to this guy outraged repeating Shane Gillis racist jokes is funnier than just hearing Shane Gillis racist jokes. He's unintentionally making the whole situation funnier. So here we go, right? Prepare to be outraged as this guy tells you Shane Gillis jokes and is outraged by it. Here you go.
He said, Kevin's ancestors came to America on a slave ship and a bottle.
Yeah, it's a good joke. You see, Kevin Hart is very short. He's a very small man. So the slave ship, you know, like a ship in a bottle. Great joke. It's hilarious. Unfortunately, my brother here doesn't seem to be as amused by the joke. That looks like a can we call that a scowl? Does he have a scowl at that joke? Anyways, let's hear more of these terrible jokes that we promised not to laugh at.
Kevin's ancestors came to America in a slave ship and a bottle art. Obviously talking about him being small, but you making fun of our...
Then he explains the joke.
Enslavement?
Yes, we are.
The greatest crime in human history?
Well, that's debatable. It could be that. Or, I don't know, maybe the billions of people that have been aborted, largely in the black community. That's a pretty bad crime, too. And there's a bunch of other, but we know, rest on those laurels of what happened to us is uniquely the worst thing ever. So that excuses us being perpetually upset, not having a sense of humor, entitled, etc., so that we're not productive members of society and have no self-accountability. You know, whatever it takes, man.
Even validated as such by the United Nations last month? Are you kidding?
Oh, shit. You mean an organization primarily ran by white people? I'm convinced if the UN said that slavery was the worst ever, well...
You're going to make fun about the enslavement of my ancestors, and
Yes.
you're going to pass it off as comedy.
Yes.
Art, this was not comedy.
Yes.
This was a public execution of the honor, self-respect, and integrity of Black America, and we not going for it.
If all it took was a public execution of the honor of black people was for a white comedian to tell a joke, then I would suggest there wasn't much honor there to begin with.
Let me continue. Listen to this one, Art. Kevin's father was a California raisin, but he wasn't raising anybody.
That's a good joke. California raisin, but he wasn't raisins. Pretty good. I'm amused. Please go on. I mean, I'm offended. That's horribly offensive. Tell us more.
His dad was addicted to crack, and he left, and he abandoned him. But I guess that's better than being there for the filming of Jumanji 3.
You see what I'm saying? Like, to hear Shane Gillis tell that joke, it's like, it's kind of funny. But to see this guy super pissed, Jumanji 3, first off, how could you make a joke about black men not raising their children? And secondly, Jumanji 3 should have won an Oscar. How dare you insult Jumanji 3, right? Look, I can't believe it. The dude made fun of Jumanji?
Telling you, Art, if I didn't see it myself, if I didn't see this myself, you couldn't have told me that these were the jokes that came out of white people's mouths.
No, not white people. White people's mouths? Oh my goodness, no!
On international television while we were sitting right in front of their face.
We? You were there? Or is it just black people collectively? I guess we were there too, as in white people. We were there as well. Isn't that interesting? Or is it only you that gets to speak for the collective? I suppose if any black people found this funny, they've sold out or whatever, because the only thing worse than white people in your eyes are black people that don't play into your racial grievance shit and could actually have a sense of humor, you know.
Let's continue. Here's another one. Now, Shane Gillis didn't say all these jokes, Art. Some of the other white comedians said them too when they got up to the podium.
Uh-oh! Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? There were other white comedians. First off, is there even more than one white comedian in the entire world? And secondly, why do we even allow white comedians? That's racist. White people, they stole comedy. Comedy was part of black people's culture, and white people stole it. We all know that. We won't be satisfied until there are only black comedians, and they tell hilarious jokes about not offending anyone. That's the real comedy.
But most of them came from Shane's Neanderthal Gillis. Listen to this one. Kevin did well in Saudi Arabia because they thought he was the monkey from Aladdin.
Abu, what was his name? Abu or Apu? I like the monkey in Aladdin. A good joke. He doesn't. Something tells me he wasn't amused by that one either. Am I wrong? It's funnier to watch this guy retell the jokes all pissed off than to watch the original comedians. This is it, man. I want to come up with an offensive stand-up set and just have this dude retell my jokes all pissed off. I think it'd be 10 times funnier. It's great. It's great. I can watch this shit all day.
How is that funny?
It ain't funny, Art.
The guy off camera, apparently his name's Art. How is that funny? It's not. It's not. It's not funny. I'm offended.
It ain't funny. This was not comedy, bro. This was a get back for Drewski portraying Erica Kirk.
Oh, I wish that it was. But no, it wasn't that. It was a roast of Kevin Hart, who happened to be a black man. People were going to say offensive shit about a black man during a roast about a black man. Pretty simple. But I assume the Erica Kirk thing was funny and all above board, right? Right, sir? That was okay? Drewski did that skit about Erica Kirk while we sat right there. And by we, I mean white people. Is that how I do this, right? Is that how I play the game? Diddy's friend Drewski, decided to put on whiteface. It's fine. I don't have a problem with it. Yuck it up. Perfectly fine. No problem. But don't clutch your pearls when people want to make jokes back. Let's keep going. Oh, he took notes. I like that.
Kevin did so well in Saudi Arabia because they thought he was the monkey from Aladdin.
He repeats that one. Still funny the second time through.
Here's another one.
Okay.
Listen to this one, Art.
I'm ready. Let's hear it. I'm sure we'll be heavily offended.
Kevin is so short, they will have to lynch him from a bonsai tree.
Who told that joke? That's it. Whoever told that joke, I want tickets to their show so I can be offended in person and shake my head. What a terrible joke. Terrible. Absolutely terrible joke.
Kevin is so short, they will have to lynch him from a bonsai tree. I got something I want to say.
Okay.
Somebody said that Pastor Jamal Bryant came out, as he should. Shout out to Pastor Jamal Bryant.
Shout out.
And he rebuked Netflix for this comedy special.
Of course. How could Netflix have a comedy special that allowed jokes? It's outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Thank you, Pastor, whoever. And I'm glad this guy has something to say. Tell him I got something to say. I'm glad that he rebuked Netflix. You did it, buddy. You got him.
Several black people did, but I want Pastor Jamal.
Holy shit, several black people? Oh, man. That's fucking... Now we got some momentum. Several black people have called out Netflix. Holy fuck. Crazy stuff.
Bryant to go one step further.
Okay, let's do it.
Pastor Bryant, you know what you're going to do, sir? You're going to get with other black ministers around the country.
Okay.
And you guys are going to draft a letter.
Okay.
All of you are going to sign it.
Okay.
That letter is going to go to Netflix.
Okay.
And you're going to tell Netflix, if anything like this ever happens again, there will be a national black boycott of Netflix.
Holy shit. First off, I'm waiting for the punchline. When did the comedy stop here? Unless this wasn't a comedy bit. I thought this was some real, artistic retelling of these jokes as an angry black man. But now I'm starting to think, maybe he's got a point here. That'd be a real shame, How many, Netflix accounts would be lost if the entire black community said, we're no longer going to watch Netflix? What a tragedy. What a tragedy that would be. Wow, what a shame. From the perspective of a white guy who basically doesn't like Netflix, you can boycott away, motherfucker. Go for it. Let's keep hearing this articulate plan here.
And not only are we going to boycott Netflix in America, we're going to ask our continental African brothers and sisters, our Australian African brothers and sisters, our
Jake Rattlesnake,
our Canadian African brothers and sisters, our European African brothers and sisters, our Caribbean African brothers and sisters.
Okay, now it's serious. Caribbean? I was laughing this off for a second. I was like, oh, man. Oh, shit. Who cares? But now that the Caribbean brothers and sisters are getting involved, holy shit. How could you ever recover that? Unbelievable.
Our Central and South American African brothers and sisters to boycott
Elon Musk, South American?
Netflix. If Netflix ever disrespects black people like this again, you will pay with your pocketbook.
Oh, shit.
I need the black pastors to send Netflix a letter, Art.
Send them.
I need the Congressional Black Caucus to send Netflix a letter.
Yes, that's actually great. Consider this, the Congressional Black Caucus, in fairness, they have nothing better to do than bitch about jokes they don't like on Netflix. That actually sounds about par for the course. Okay, gotcha. Strongly worded letter coming from the Black Congressional Caucus. Nice.
I need the Divine Nine, black fraternities and sororities to send Netflix a letter.
I haven't heard of the Divine Nine before. I assume it's like the Four Tops. Someone let me know if their latest album was any good.
I need the Urban League, the NAACP, and every grassroots black organization, the Black Masons included. Send Netflix a letter and tell them if this ever happens again, Netflix will be canceled by the black African race. You are not going to play in our face as you benefit from our pain. You are not going to play in black people's face as you benefit from our pain.
You know he's serious because he repeated it there. Now, actually, I know this might come as a shock to you all, but as the premier channel for powerful black women's voices, tune in on Sunday nights for my segment, I'm Speaking Now. I actually disagree with the gentleman here. I don't think he goes far enough. He's suggesting that all of these folks come together, blacks and their allies come together, and threaten Netflix that if this happens again, if someone makes any joke that seeks to make fun of anyone who's black, that they would boycott it. I don't think that goes far enough. I think they should start the boycott now. I really do. Please, all of you, boycott now. Do it. If we could, I'm here to cheer on. I'm here to amplify this voice. Say it loud, say it proud, right? Yes, every black person in the world and their allies, including all the woke lefties, should boycott Netflix. Do it. Totally agree. And then maybe Netflix could get back to the business of making good TV shows instead of pushing the woke message where their primary concern is replacing white characters with black actors. Once the black people are already not watching and the woke lefties, maybe we just get good TV shows? So I'm all for it. I think it's a win-win. These people get to clutch their pearls and be super upset about jokes. Netflix loses the audience that they're primarily catering to. And we get to maybe have a network that's actually concerned about making good television instead of woke messaging. What's the problem? So I'm all for it. Thank you, sir, for your incredible words of wisdom. You just didn't go far enough. And I have to say, if your career in fake black activism to grift for yourself doesn't pan out, might I suggest a career in comedy where you continue to fake your outrage and read hilarious jokes? I think he really has something there. So I thought that was amazing. And it comes off the Chud the Builder thing, you know? Look, I don't know shit about the Chud thing. On one hand, let me say this. Not a good idea to intentionally go out and antagonize people, especially those you know are violent, even if it does prove your point. Secondly, I have no idea what the exact situation was with Chud. We'll have to wait until we see more video. Is there absolutely a situation where he's got a claim to self-defense? Of course. If he says something to someone, whether offensive or not, and someone comes and starts wailing on him and he's trying to escape and pulls his gun, yeah, that's probably self-defense. If the guy wasn't hitting him and he drew his gun first and attacked him, maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to see the specific details. But you know damn well that the high bail and the treatment that Chud's going to get is because he's white. And the disproportionate compared to blacks that do many more heinous things, getting far lower bail, is because they're black. You know it. I know it. We all know it. So it's just funny to see this shit like, you know, oh, clutch my pearls. I got a case of the feels. Oh. So over it. Speaking of which, did you see they have a case now in Dublin, Ireland, where they're calling the Irish George Floyd? A Congolese man apparently is now dead as I don't know the exact circumstance of what happened. What I was reading was this. I saw some of the video, but what I was reading is this. He shoplifted and somehow also allegedly broke someone's leg, an older gentleman's leg. And so then in the footage, which I won't show here because if the person really did die, arguably against, YouTube terms of service, but you can go to X and type in Dublin, George Floyd. It looks similar, like they're trying to hold this guy down. Looks like there's like a knee on the neck. Oh boy. So now, if as is told, this person died, now we're going to have another one of these situations, right? Why is there a Congolese man in fucking Ireland, a citizen of Ireland? Why is he shoplifting? In the footage, again, I hesitate to show it for terms of service reasons, but in the footage, people are like, he's already down. You can see the dude struggling the whole time, even as they're all pinning him down. And they're like, he's already down. Like, I don't know. What are we supposed to do? If someone's struggling like that, you sit there and hold them. Listen, it's time for a serious conversation about this. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. And yes, we should hold law enforcement to a higher standard than the average person. And I'm not saying that it excuses blatant acts of murder, etc. But there is something that no one talks about ever, that I ever see talking about, which is when people resist, when you're in a position and people resist and purposely make your position, your work difficult, it is human nature to get real fucking pissed off. So when you're working at a fast food restaurant and someone's just being a dickhead to you over and over again intentionally, to make your job hard because they're trying to scam you for like free fries or some shit, you have to really check yourself. You do. And it's like that in any line of work. Now, I was in a line of work where I had the smallest authority over people. And that line of work was dealing with people with autism, etc. Most of the time, the nature of the position I was in was I was alone with someone who had a severe developmental disability, who was an adult. I had some people that would beat the shit out of me. They were some of the strongest human beings you've ever seen. I had others that would constantly frustrate you, even unintentionally, by repetition and things of that nature. Some of the houses, I never worked for a company like this, but there were companies that the houses were restraint companies, where you were allowed to restrain the person. And certainly there were people that took advantage of that. And took advantage of any amount of modicum of authority, and fuck those people. But I also saw plenty of interactions with police that entered the interaction being entirely reasonable. And after you struggle for 25 minutes with someone on the ground, squirming away from you, shoving you, biting at you and shit, yeah, I can see how you would lose your patience. Does that excuse you, like, doing something incredibly heinous? No. But the problem is, where we have a society where we tell one particular group of people, black people, that they're basically entitled to everything and they have zero accountability, and that all they have to do is shout something like, I can't breathe, and that's supposed to be some magical words that mean that you're not allowed to detain those people, and that if they struggle while they're on the ground and you can't be able to get like them to be handcuffed or anything like that safe, you're supposed to what, just let them go? That's the society that we live in? I'm not suggesting, by the way, that this means that these particular people in Ireland are not guilty. I don't know. I saw the smallest video of it. I'm assuming we'll see more angles, etc. But it's so absurd. It's so absurd that we just constantly have this situation play out where it's like, I'm going to resist arrest, and maybe you're right to resist arrest. But it predictably leads to an escalating situation where some humans are going to start to raise the tensions on both sides. And you put yourself at risk. And instead of trying to deal with the problem societally to be like, why does this keep happening in certain demographic groups? We constantly say, well, we need more training for law enforcement, for security services, etc., etc., etc. Then, of course, juxtapose what I'm sure you'll see will be the outrage of this situation. And I see someone brings it up already. The gentleman in Ireland. Or I'm sorry, the British gentleman in the United Kingdom. Let's see if I can find this clip. So there was this gentleman in the United Kingdom who was stabbed by a Sikh. Now, Sikhs, as part of their religion in the United Kingdom, are allowed to carry ceremonial knives. Okay? Which begs the question, if there could be religions that allow you to have knives in places you're not, am I allowed to have a religion where I'm allowed to carry, like, my long rifle? Can I claim that? I'm a particular branch of Christianity that says I have a ceremonial rifle, so I'm allowed to carry that anywhere I want. Can we get that written somewhere? Or only Sikhs get those protections in the United Kingdom? Here's a real short snippet about this story. Henry Nowak, a university student in the UK, was allegedly fatally stabbed by Vikram Digwa, a Sikh man carrying an 8-inch ceremonial knife. When police arrived, Digwa reportedly accused Henry of racial abuse, leading to police to handcuff Henry while he was bleeding out. Henry then succumbed to his wounds and died. Yes, another case. There you have it. Another case where we have a fucking ethnic knife wielder stabbing someone, and the police come to his aid. And now imagine your final moments if you've been stabbed by some person, and the final moments are them accusing you of being racist, and as you desperately need help to save your life, as you're bleeding out, law enforcement that you, for a moment, had a false hope were there to help you, put you in handcuffs. Only for you to bleed out. Imagine the horror of those last moments. In your own country, by the way, as a white person in the United Kingdom, watching a Sikh stab you with their ceremonial knife. By the way, if you had a knife like that as a white person in the United Kingdom, your ass would be in prison. But the Sikh's allowed to carry that knife. Stabs you, smears you as a racist. The police that you think are coming to help you handcuff you, you die. That's where we're at in the West. That's it. I don't know how much longer people will put up with this. I saw Curtis Yarvin say, they will. It'll never change. People will just isolate themselves more and more. I'll just put up a bigger fence. I'll just put up a better security system. By the time people wake up, it's too late. It's too late. Now here's the thing, all the shit you hear me giving the fucking America Verse, the Nick Fuentes people. I truly believe those people are as fed up about this shit as I am. They have a different way of going about it. I think that way is terrible, and it puts them as a political enemy of mine right now. But this is the shit that I see that's enraging, that needs to be fought about. And the truth is, this kind of extremism will be celebrated by people with institutional authority on the left. So, one thing that I see that's quite funny is we see right now who I think deserves a Pulitzer Prize if it means anything, which it doesn't, so who gives a fuck? But if the Pulitzer Prize meant anything, who should win it this year? Pulitzer Prize for outstanding journalism. Anyone have a guess? Who would you vote for? Can you think of a journalist that broke a story that had real impactful change? Anyone? Yeah. Nick Shirley. Yeah. But what I've been told over and over, he's not a real journalist. He's not credentialed. Somehow it's those credentials from all these left-wing fucking organizations. That's what matters. It's the credentials. Can't you see? The credentials matter. And you got to go through the system to get the credentials, right? Well, Mem Donnie has the authority to give people credentials. Yes, he does. Want to see some credentialed media members? Let's just take a couple here in Mem Donnie's New York. Here we have some credentialed media members. Ready?
I said what I said. I don't give a fuck.
His children are better off without him. They need to learn to not be like their dad and enjoy the blood money, kids.
What was that? I didn't get that, what you said.
I'm standing on business. Fuck Brian Thompson. I don't give a flying fucking dime. Millions of Americans.
I liked it.
Millions of Americans suffer every single day from the lack of negligence when it comes to United Healthcare. We had a literal infant named Isela who, because of how negligent her health insurance was, she died.
You get the picture. This woman says, good, she's happy. The Luigi Mangione killed Brian Thompson. Is happy for that. The other woman, again, two credentialed members of the press, credentialed. The other woman says, Brian Thompson, the man who was murdered's children, are better off without him. But hey, enjoy the blood money. Now ask yourself this. Who do these do you think these credentialed media members or any of the other people cheering on the murder of Brian Thompson, do you think any of them knew who he was before he was murdered? Any of them? If you said, give me the list of some evil people that you think have, some real revenge coming their way, do you think any of them would have said, you know who? The United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. You think any of them would have said that? I don't think they knew who he was. They just knew what his job title was and said, therefore he had it coming. So ask yourself this. If they didn't know who he was, and this is how they could celebrate his murder, what do you think they'd say about someone like Donald Trump being murdered? Or a top Trump ally? Or a Republican sort of MAGA-like politician? Or a conservative justice like, say, Brett Kavanaugh or Neil Gorsuch or Clarence Thomas? What do you think they would say about that? Because if Brian Thomas was evil, or Thompson was evil, well, what's that say about Clarence Thomas? He, after all, was instrumental in taking away women's right to choose, right? Do you see where we're going? Do you see we can have a situation where a white guy's bleeding out because a Sikh that's allowed to keep a ceremonial knife that would not be offered under the law to be allowed to be carried by the white guy gets stabbed while he's bleeding out and the cops come and arrest the white guy because the word racism was shouted? Then you go across the pond back here to the United States and you see credentialed press members saying, we're glad that someone carried out a daytime execution on the streets of Brian Thompson. Good, the motherfucker had it coming. Starting to see how these things follow. It's not limited to just that. We get other adventures from these people, like the infamous here in Canada. How about the pee-pee poo-poo man, arrested on charges? We don't have to go into it, but the pee-pee poo-poo man that's been known since 2019 in Toronto, with this fine young gentleman, immigrant gentleman, who, don't question it, he's as Canadian as anyone else, It's all lumberjacks, hockey, and maple syrup for this guy. His favorite pastime is filling up buckets with his own piss and fecal matter and dumping it on people in public, primarily white people. Hey, guess what? He also enjoys a bit of sexual assault as well. Isn't that nice? But don't question it. That'd make you a racist. Speaking of the aforementioned Nick Shirley, he's still out there doing amazing work. Here he is, confronting another person that's just as American as me or you, trust me.
You have to live here. I'm asking No. You don't ask me nothing, man. $2.25 million. Get out, you guys. Get out. $2.5 million. Get out. This is a business. Get out, hey. Get out. What are you looking for? We're asking. We just want to. Get out. We just want to ask you about $2.25 million. Get out. Fuck you say. Get out. Get out, guys. Get out. You cannot do that. Get out. No, you cannot. You cannot do that. Get out. This is fucking get out, man. No. Get lost. Get out. No. Sir. You have to get out. This is our brother. Get out. Why? Can I ask you about the daycare? I have the paperwork right here. Get out. What's the need for $2.25 million for a daycare? Get out. Can you answer the question? Get out. No, I don't ask you any question. Fucking. You can't. Get out. You can't answer the question. Get out. No. What are you? Who are you? My name's Nick Shirley. No, I don't give a shit. Get out. Could you answer the question? No, I don't. What's the need for $2.25 million for a daycare? No. Fucking $1 million. Don't worry about it. Get out. Okay. Get out. And it's licensed for 118 children. Get out. But I don't see any footprints of any children here. I don't see any footprints of any children here. Get out. Get out. Fucking guys. Get out. No, you're not asking me nothing, man. I'm just asking you about what we're seeing here. No. Get out. Get out our business. Get out. Sir. This is my property. You have millions of people watching right now. Can you say what's the need for $2.25 million? And where are the 118 children? Get out. Sir, I'm just asking you a simple question. Get out. No, you don't ask me any question. Fuck it. Get out. You have the opportunity to answer the question. No. You can't ask me nothing. Get out. Get out our business, man. Get out. Get out, motherfucker. Get out. Sir, get out. Just answer the question. No. Just answer the question. No, get out. Leave. Sir, just answer the simple question.
Hey, don't touch me.
Don't touch me. You YouTube, man. Get out. All right, code word has been given. We're out. Get out. All right, we got to get out of here. Get out. Sir, just answer the question. Where are the children? No footprints of any children around here. No footprints of any children. They can't even answer the question. We gave them so many opportunities. We gave them plenty of opportunities.
They seem so well spoken. You know, that's really the most amazing thing, right? Those really look like the type of educators you'd want, you know, working with your children at a daycare, right? They seem so even-keeled. I'm sure when a child doesn't put the toys back, they handle it in a very civilized manner, right? I don't know where that was exactly. I think it was also in Minneapolis. Amazing though, right?
Hmong garb to work to celebrate my cultural heritage.
This is, again, I'm taking a risk here. I can't remember. I believe this is TOS friendly. This, who you're about to see here, is a Michigan State Rep, Mai Xiong, who's a Democrat, who was born in Thailand. Here's her political ad. She's running for office, or she is a state rep. Here she is. So one of your wonderful state reps here. So here she has to say.
MAGA was not happy I wore my traditional Hmong garb to work to celebrate my cultural heritage. So today, I'm going to wear their garb. First, I put on my Team USA shirt because I want everyone to know I'm proud to be an American. I do my MAGA makeup. I'm going for the Christine No meets Erica Kirk look. Like, I just didn't get fired and I'm mourning the loss of my loved one. Then, I practice my English in front of the mirror. I love my country. USA. Not Chinese. Not Japanese. American. And I do the most American thing. What does Trump usually get?
I'm sorry, what?
Big Mac with large fries and a Diet Coke. I love this American food. Then I come home and water my lawn. I don't know where the water comes from. I just turned the hose on and there's like no shortage of water. I gotta make sure that my lawn looks better than my neighbors. Otherwise, they're gonna call the city on me. That was a lot of work. So now I'm just sitting on my front porch staring down my immigrant neighbors. And then I noticed something suspicious. I call ICE because there's a suspicious black SUV parked down the street. Finally, it's time for some Fox News at 5. I check my credit card bills and I laugh. I can't wait to get my Doge and tariff refund check so I can get back on track with my bills. It's not that serious, like get over it, you libtards. He didn't really mean it when he said open up the fucking straits or the entire civilization is going to die. Then I rage comment on every dumb, Democrat, libtard, brainwashed, TDS, CCP, Marxist, cockroach lunatics post. I look at some AI-generated stuff that Donald Trump posted and I laugh my butt off. Like, geez, it's not that serious. Like, get over it, you libtards.
Now listen, before people judge her too harshly, she was born in Thailand. And I can understand, you know, let's see if I get this term right. Getting looks mugged by a bunch of ladyboys over there in Thailand, if you're some shithole like this, probably would frustrate you in wanting to move to the United States. So I get it. I get why she's so ornery here. But maybe we shouldn't be electing foreign-born people that hold contempt for Americans. Is that too much to ask? Is it too much? You know, it's getting a bit tiresome, right? But hey, at least the law is being enforced in sensible ways. Now, I will admit, and I admit this is emotionally driven, but since I've become a father, I do sort of view a lot of legal issues in a different way. For example, I maybe wasn't too concerned with like obscene public drunkenness, like in front of schools or something. It's not that I would have been for it, but it wasn't on my radar. Now, when you see these sort of things, sort of raises ire a little more. But I want you to put yourself in this position. Surely, in civilized United States, if on your property you have a toddler and a nude man enters your property coming towards your child, surely that's cause for arrest. That's some sort of crime, right? To be nude, running onto someone's property, beyond just trespassing, that's some sort of crime. To expose yourself in front of children like that. On their property. We all agree with that. We haven't gone that far. We haven't gone that far that there are parts of the United States where that's not a crime. Right?
In the state of Oregon, someone can walk up to your 2-year-old kid completely bare naked, and that's not a crime? Even if it's on your property?
Correct. Well, so it's trespassing, but what I'm saying is there's no laws against the actual nudity portion of it.
So you can expose yourself to children in Oregon?
Again, if you're not doing it for sexual gratification or the gratification of somebody else, yes, you are allowed to walk around in public naked.
On private property, this is where I live, and someone just came and exposed themselves to my 2-year-old boy, and this officer's saying that it's not a crime. So a naked person came up onto my property here, approached my 2-year-old kid, completely naked, which I ran over to him and covered his eyes so he wouldn't see. My obvious thought is to call 911 as someone's indecently exposing themselves to my child on my property. At what point did this become a normal and acceptable thing to do? The cops will literally do nothing about it. They're basically saying we have to wait for that person to do something more serious to your kid before we can intervene.
Hey, just be thankful he didn't stab you and the police came and arrested you, right? hey, okay. It's not going to get worse than that. We don't have left-wingers that are saying crazy shit worse than that, right? That's the tip of the iceberg. It's not like we'd have left-wingers actually suggesting the parents in a civilized Western country should be allowed to force the euthanization of their kids, right? We wouldn't have that. That wouldn't happen, right?
I want to draw attention to 3 concerns about the widening scope of euthanasia in Canada. These are not concerns from the fringes, but statements from a member of a provincial medical college, recommendations before Parliament, and the reality of MAID right now in Canada. And most Canadians are not yet aware of the extent of the horror. The first concern is about a statement regarding infants. A member of the Quebec College of Physicians has formally stated that MAID may be an appropriate treatment for babies from birth to 1 year of age, who come into the world with severe deformities and very serious syndromes, and that parents should have the opportunity to obtain this care for their infant. Canadian law currently permits the withdrawal of life-sustaining treatment for critically ill newborns. This medical practitioner's proposal goes further. He calls for the calculated killing of an infant. These are patients, babies, who cannot speak, cannot consent, and cannot ask for help. If we cannot draw the line here, I'm not sure where medical professionals imagine the line to be.
If you get isn't it funny? You watch someone like me have an abortion debate over and over with people. And once you painstakingly, because one of the most frustrating things is the pro-choice movement has a difficult time admitting what they really mean when they say there should be no law between a woman and her right to choose. None. It should be between her and her doctor only. The logical extrapolation of that is if a woman chooses to exterminate her child on the day of the due date, they should be allowed to do so. So you have to painstakingly go through hoops to get them to admit that, as I've done over and over again. It's probably the most common opinion of the people that I debate on the abortion topic when it comes to where the cutoff should be. Once you get them to admit that, obviously the argument is, well, wait a minute. What makes it between if this woman, 10 minutes before she gives birth, can exterminate the child, and 10 minutes after she can't give birth, what's biologically different with the child? Of course, this argument's designed to point out the heinousness of, by law, allowing the extermination of that child who is no biologically different than that child once it breaches the womb at all. The left took this argument and said, we agree. Kill that fucking baby, even after it breaches the womb. Sure, why not? Sure, it'll start now with, well, if they have deformities, but what will that look like? After all, we know in Iceland, they abort children with Down syndrome. That's enough of an illness. If we start and we say, well, just spinal bifida or something like that serious, then who's to say they say, well, what if, their legs just don't move? Once we accept the line of, okay, sometimes it's okay to kill the living baby, then that line just keeps moving and moving and moving. Here we are. We were told would never happen. Not to mention all the other screwed up things you hear about MAID. I saw this post. I thought this was apropos. Support women's autonomy. Yay! Unrestricted abortion up to birth. Huh? Euthanizing disabled babies. Did you guys see the hit BBC article today from their print copy? BBC, very trusted name in news. There's a credentialed news outlet. Hard-hitting journalism today. Right? Here we go. Selling children to survive. Afghan fathers forced to make impossible choices. Now, if you check the community note here, it's a doozy. You ready for this? BBC frames Afghan fathers selling daughters as sympathetic. All profile cases involve girls 5 years old. Selling daughters for marriage is a long-standing cultural practice in parts of Afghanistan. BBC focuses on fathers' distress over outcomes for the girls. Rape. Yes, that's right. The BBC just wrote a puff piece on adult men in Afghanistan that sell their 5-year-old daughters for sex. By the way, how many of those unvetted Afghans do we bring back during the Afghan withdrawal? Remember when people were hanging off the wings of planes trying to get back into the United States? But hey, don't say, yeah, they're every bit as of American as you. The BBC writing sympathetic pieces. These poor fathers forced to sell their 5-year-old daughters as sex slaves. Poor guys. Oh, yeah, and I guess it sucks for the daughters too. But anyways, all cultures are equal. They're all equal. The picture that I'm trying to paint here with all of this, from everything since we've been talking about Massie and Paxton, what I wanted to do tonight was to illustrate just a little slice of one day worth of news stories. Just one day. That's all this was. Shit that I found on X today in my free time. That's it. Do you see what we're up against? From every level. Racial grievance experts, to fucking media people, to politicians elected in this country that hate the people of this country, to laws being enshrined that nude people could run onto your property in front of your children. Western world having people getting stabbed but called racist so the police handcuffs you as you bleed out. Assisted unaliving for children with some kind of deformity. Puff pieces by credible left-wing journalists about the poor fathers that have to sell their 5-year-old daughters into sex slavery. Credentialed journalists celebrating the murder of Americans, saying their children are better off. Do you see what we're up against? Do you see it? I'll take this moment to say a second, just one little thing once. This is why I find anybody who says, but we must vote Democrat to make things better, egregious. Do you see? How much more of that can we handle in our own backyard? But let's bridge the gap with a lot of people that are suggesting that for, let's say, the right reasons. We have to start taking seriously what these stakes are. They're going to pack the court. We showed it yesterday. They're going to pack the court. They're all saying it now. They're going to make D.C. a state. They're going to make Puerto Rico a state. They're going to change judicial practices in every state that they can across this country. They're going to give a legislator the power over the judiciary to punish them if they see fit. They're going to give themselves perpetual authority. And then it's too late. So I hope you can see why I try to push, as bad as Republicans could be, as I wish things were better, even with some of the Trump administration, why I'm honestly highlighting what I see as victories and pointing out the juxtaposition. If it's not them, it's the people you just saw. Keyline Platypus, thanks for being here. We're just going to ban you. I'm not used to. We get it, man. Oh, but even in the West, there's child marriage. Isn't that what the right wants as well? Get back to me when credible people are talking about packing the Supreme Court on the right. Go fuck yourself. Don't suffer any of these both sides do it fools. Tell them to go fuck themselves. Not worth our time. Fuck them. By the way, if you don't know, Keyline Platypus is a man that doesn't believe in criminal punishment. He thinks if a sex offender who assaults children is told by a committee of psychiatrists, hey, we don't think you'll do it again, then they should be left out of prison damn near immediately. I have no time of day for people like that. Goodbye. Yes, that's correct. These people will come to you with a smile on their face and rainbows on their shirt, peace and love, to make excuses why the people that want to assault your children need to be treated better and how somehow it's your fault. We can't have laws to punish them. Fuck those people. Be gone. That's my feelings. So that's sort of the point that I wanted to hit home tonight. Again, just one day of shit that I saw. That's not even comprehensive. I didn't include this with the theme because it's an older story. But remember this doozy? Ready for this?
A 10-year-old girl, they described her as a prostitute. I mean, how can a 10-year-old girl be described in that way when she is a victim of gang rape? And there was another case I came across where there was DNA evidence of, again, a young girl of that sort of age, 10 or 11 years old, being raped. And the CPS, I think in that case, designated her as a co-conspirator. There was another case where a father went to try and rescue his daughter from being abused in a flat by, again, taxi drivers of Pakistani origin. And the police turned up, and instead of arresting the men who were raping his daughter, they arrested the father. By the authorities deliberately, not accidentally, deliberately, knowingly covered up these crimes, and not a single person, not even one, has been prosecuted for the offence of misconduct in public office or held to account. A 10-year-old girl.
That's the future of our country. It's what the Western world has to look forward to. I've been saying this for years. Not only did this happen to allegedly hundreds of thousands of girls in the UK, not only was it racially motivated in most of the cases, you wouldn't believe the heinousness. You would not fucking believe it. They treated the girls who are being assaulted as criminals. They went after the parents instead of the criminals that were assaulting their children in the most heinous of ways. To this day, they still treat the people that protest against this as the enemy and the people that committed these crimes as misunderstood. But my point has always been this. How is it possible that all of these authorities in law enforcement, in politics, knew of this? They've admitted it now. The inquiries have shown they knew. And they let it go. How has not one of them faced any sort of criminal penalty? Not one. There has been no accountability, as far as I know, for any politician or law enforcement professional that knew this was occurring, that said that this girl was a hooker, that attacked the parents. Not any accountability at all to even one person. Not even one person. With potentially hundreds of thousands of girls victims of the most heinous crimes. One other thing. My pal Gavin McInnes puts this list up. Now, I have to be careful when I'm reading this, but I'm going to read this to you. I'm not going to show it on screen. Here's what my pal Gavin put up. He says, one of the reasons the elites ignore the Muslim grooming gangs is they simply can't handle the levels of horrors these attacks reach, such as nailing a girl's tongue to a block of wood while she is assaulted, forcing them to dig their own graves, drenching the girls in gasoline, branding girls' buttocks with M's for Muhammad, assaulting girls under the Pakistani flag, my bad. I know. I'm stupid. Fair enough. Keyline, you got me. We'll take care of you over there as well. Now, you may think that can't be true, right? This tweet with its extreme claims caught my attention because Elon Musk reposted it. I asked Gemini if any of these claims are accurate. It assured me they are not. Then I asked Grok, which replied that the first four are in fact accurate, and it provided details and sources supporting its response, because these were from court cases. So I went back to Gemini, copy and pasted Grok's reply into a prompt, and asked Gemini what it thought about what Grok had just told me. Here's what Gemini said. I stand corrected. I apologize for my previous response. I attempted to separate fact from social media exaggeration, but failed to properly verify the depth of the horrific testimonies from the actual trials, like Operation Bullfinch and the Rotterdam inquiries. The details you cited from Grok accurately reflect the devastating and brutal reality that these victims endured. We're rewriting history. After all, it was a long time ago what happened to these children, right? A long time ago. It's time to get over it, right? Anyways, January 6th, right? Go look up what happened at the Bataclan. Go look up the accounts of that. Did you ever wonder why we've never seen any pictures from there? Because they admitted in official court testimony, they were live video calling people as these Muslims butchered these people. Some of the accounts were cutting a baby out of the womb of a pregnant lady, cutting off the testicles of men and forcing them into their mouths. All while they gleefully took pictures of it. But they buried it because, after all, more racism would be bad. So we just have to pretend it didn't happen. That's what we're up against. People that do that and the people that cover up for it. The Bataclan? France, correct? I'll get you the specific details. You can look it up yourself. Deadliest single incident coordinated November 13th, 2015 in Paris. Carried out by ISIS. The band The Eagles of Death Metal were playing. It was sold out to about 1,500 people. 3 attackers with rifles, with unaliving vest. "90 people killed. But they killed people outside of it in Paris as well. So it was 130 killed in that one day. And France basically covered it up. 2015. Now remember, when we talk about the need to rebuke these people in the strongest way possible through legal ways, this is what we're up against. And now the same people that would cover up for this shit and say you're racist for pointing it out and want to mass import people from these cultures, now they're telling you, pack the courts. Make sure we can never lose again. Do it. They're open about it. But it's not all black pill, as grotesque as all of this shit is. We talk about it a lot. We talked about it today on the show. Mr. who I saw in the chat earlier, called in. There's a lot of victories that have happened under this Trump administration. You may not like the Iran thing. You might be hyper-focused on but Israel. I think you're wrong to do so, but there's a lot of victories. Cultural victories that we have, judicial victories, Chevron deference, Roe v. Wade being overturned, VRA, racial gerrymandering provisions gutted, possible birthright citizenship possibly gutted, Southern Poverty Law Center indicted, Act Blue soon to be indicted, Somali daycare fraud indicted, hospices shut down, they were robbing us, Doge basically killed USAID, federal workforce lowest level since 1960s, net negative migration for the first time, border almost completely secure. People come across in 1 month the same amount as came in 1 hour under the Biden administration. It's not perfect, but things are trending in the right direction for a lot of this stuff. So, it's never worth blackmailing. Of course, go touch grass. I think it's imperative, especially because streamer Destiny was on here yesterday, which you can go back and watch that live stream if you want from the Law and Order show. I think it's imperative that, unlike him, who likes to gaslight his audience to the point where they feel the need to do something radical, that's not the solution. It doesn't justify us going out and using violence. It wouldn't be moral, nor would it be strategic. And it's not worth blackpilling over. Find a woman you love, or if you're a woman, a man. Get married, have kids. Find friends in real life. I'm talking about this depressing shit. I'm here to tell you, I started off the show, go back and watch it. It's one of the best days I've had in probably my entire life. Just a simple day. Watching my son go to his first baseball practice this year and have a great time. Meet some guy that was dressed up like Spider-Man that he was super excited with. And hanging out and spending a day with my wife. It was truly an amazing day. I know it's not that simple for everyone, but there's no need to get blackpilled. It doesn't help anything. Being miserable only makes things more miserable. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So don't get depressed. Understand the stakes of what we're up against. Go to church. Get real life friends. Get married. Have kids. Take a breath. Think of how lucky we are just to be alive. We really are. Don't give in to despair. No matter what. Even if you're a Massie fan and you think this was a big blow, don't give in to despair. There's still work to be done. So it's important sometimes to stare into the darkness, but don't stare too much. Just make yourself aware of what the stakes are and why it's important to get motivated to start to move culture and society and our politics in the right direction. And I know I haven't done it. I know the plan was to do the whole show, what the latter half of the show was, but given the Paxton and Massie news, I thought that I just had to talk about that. You know? So, that's what we were doing today. So, well, I know I'm not supposed to make you cry, but unfortunately, we've come to the portion of the show we're 3 hours in. We have to read super chats and then play these stupid ass whip songs. Ah! I'm not a fan of the whip songs, if you couldn't tell. First off, Zapolba, $5 says, it's my understanding that Kevin Hart's producers push to have race-heavy material. I would assume that's probably true. Now, look, I know very little about Kevin Hart, other than, obviously, the comedies he's been in, and, like, seeing his... I haven't watched a lot of his movies, probably. It seems fine. I know he at one point made a homophobic joke, and it got him kicked off of, like, hosting the Oscars or something, to which I say, good for you, Kevin Hart. But... yeah, I'm sure he seems like a dude with a sense of humor, and his producers were probably like, yeah, hit the racial angle, it'll be funny. So, Intel Wild, $2 says, I didn't get the notification. Shadow ban? I hope not. I certainly didn't do anything. Blasterbot, $5, says, oh no, a second joke is hitting the tower. This is the worst thing that's happened to America, to black folk. Nothing compares. Yes. Yes. Narla Hotep, $5 says, get him, Rob. Happy to do so. Gavin Freenan, $10 says, these shorts have ironically set us back hundreds of years with their bull. Or these sorts, I'm sorry. I've gotten into so many arguments with these types, and it feels like there's no way back. Whatever happens, happens now. Yeah, it's bullshit because, you know, I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you all and be like, oh, I have a ton of black friends. I don't. I have one of my closest friends is a black guy. But I have I have black acquaintances. And almost all of them to a T laughed their ass off. I guarantee it's Shane Gillis. I was like, it's fucking funny. You know? The pearl clutching, and it's so sad. Like, you heard that asshole who I was watching was like, we were in the front row. Like, I used to ask the guy that's one of my best friends that's black, I used to ask him all the time, I was like, does it ever piss you off that, like, there are people that claim to speak for, like, all of black people? Like, that would never fly with white people. I couldn't be like, well, I'm a white community leader, and we whites were sitting in the front row. Everyone else would be like, shut the fuck up. Who are you? But people do that in the black community. They act like they're the voice. And it's like, yeah, newsflash, there could be, just like with white people or Asian people, there could be people that massively disagree. Same could be true of the black community. You stupid shit. So I always felt bad for, you know, black folks that have to listen to this fucking grievance bullshit. But Mrs. Nothing, $10 says, Window hears about your I'm Speaking series. The outrage may be too much for... Why would he be outraged? I'm giving black women a powerful voice. Blasterbot, $10 says, it would probably have to be Rumble exclusive, but watching people offended by the joke repeat it indignantly would be great. Not just limited to this guy. It's a whole genre of material I need. Yeah, I agree. I'm on board. I would buy a ticket to the Black Grievance Telling Racist Jokes Festival and just watching them like sit there all scowling. This is terrible. And I'd be like, like see how long you could go without bursting out laughing. Joseph Romano, $5 says, so wait, grieving widow, black comedian makes joke equals hilarious. But if a black comedian gets roasted by a white comedian, racist. Yes. Yes. That simple. Black does it funny. White does it racist. Jason Mulgren, $5 says, is Target bankrupt yet? I don't know. Intel Wild, $5 says, Rob, to make it more TOS friendly, we could call them Blue Jays or Dem Boys. Exphobic, thanks for the $2, man. Appreciate it. Blaster Butt, $10 says, no, Rob. We see what happened was the guy got lost. He thought he was heading to Brian Shapiro's house. He was told to show him. It was just a mistake, really. Oh, the nude man. He was heading to Shapiro's house. How have we not done it today? Another Brian Shapiro mention? Say it ain't so.
He harasses women in messages, has a weird infatuation with men's organs. He's a syndicated radio host, and it's all about respect. He's Brian Shapiro.
That makes sense. Now it all makes sense. We got it. Amartopia, $5 says, I've debated people like that literally say post-birth abortion up until 7 years after birth is perfectly fine. I too have debated that. Yep. It's disgusting. Kyle swam the Nile instead of Kyle ran a mile. Interesting. $5 says, you take the people that question, replace them with the people open to suggestion, and you make them folks an offer that they can never refuse. You know? Phlebas Maximus, $5 says, have you read the Crowder Fuentes debate yet? It was funny to watch a comedian absolutely body Nick. It goes into exactly this. I didn't cover it. We played a couple clips of it here and I covered it, but I talked about it and like all the things that were said. But yeah, I thought Crowder handled it very well and Nick struggled, in my opinion. Gizmo, $10 says, good evening, my brother. Good evening to you. Blasterbot, Total Maniac, $100 says, the most radical thing you can do today is start a family, go to church, raise your kids well. If you have the extra energy, pay attention to your local area and vote in primaries. No need for Fed posting with any of that. I couldn't agree more, man. Look, I talk about this. I from the bottom of I was a young man, like, I had all these visions of grandeur. Like, I was going to change the world. Maybe I would become president, or maybe I would take some heroic last stand against injustice, whatever. And now I have to be honest. I'm probably not going to do any of that. I'm going to die, and within 60, 70 years, no one's going to come to my gravestone at all. And, they're going to pay some dude. It'll probably be some mower, like some Roomba that'll mow the grass around wherever I'm buried. And that'll be it. Eventually, Vines will take it over, and people will be like, oh, cool, an old graveyard. And that'll be that. And hopefully I'll be in heaven because I'm a good enough Christian to get in, I hope. But I want to do the right thing. I do. I want to drive culture and the country in the right direction, in the world in the right direction. I do. But I have to be honest from the bottom of my heart. I just want to hang out with my wife and my son. I don't, I don't give a shit. I want to say a caveat here. I'll take all your money. I'll become a ridiculous millionaire. I will. I'm not like anti-capitalist or some shit saying, oh, I'm worried I have all this money. I just don't really give a shit that much, though, if I'm honest. I just don't. Like, my dream's to buy a house that's a little deeper in the woods than I'm at now and be 60 and sitting on the back porch watching deer in the backyard on a rocking chair with my wife, maybe playing MLB The Show 2043 or something here and there, and then bitching because my son doesn't bring the grandkids around enough. That's it. That's my dream life. And what's so weird is that may have been something that was considered normal for a long time. And that was an average. And now, as Blastbot says, that's radical. That's radical to just want that. And it's, the gazebo, of course. So, I don't know. That's honestly how I feel, though. It's for 99.9% of us, me being a good husband to my wife and a good father to my son will be infinitely, well, I won't say infinitely, will be by orders of magnitude more important to changing this world in a positive way than anything I ever say on this channel. Easily. So, I mean, to me, that's it, man. I'm not one of those guys that's like, may you live in interesting times. No, man. May I live in boring times. That's what I want. I want to live in a boring time. I want to live in a time where things are so good that there's nothing to bitch about. I'll still find things to bitch about, but that's what I want. I want to go back to, like, my biggest concern being, like, who are the Pirates going to get at the trade deadline? The answer is no one. They'll sell their team like they always do. But that's it. That's what I want to go back to. So, of course, I'll be out of a job because if things were that good, you know, no one's going to tune in to just hear me talk about my son's baseball game. Maybe. I guess I could always play whip songs, you know. Hunter Killer, $5 says, I got busy and missed a part. Repeat everything so I could get caught up. Not today. But thanks for the offer and thanks for the 5. And then over on Rumble, no donations, you slackers. I'm just kidding. You guys are great too. All right, time of the show. We got to at least get to 357. But it is the time of the show where we play these stupid whip songs. There's this song from this old Lord of the Rings show called Where There's a Whip, There's a Way. It's about Sauron forcing the orcs to go to war. I played it to hope to get donos. It led to a big thing. We now have like 90-something versions of that song. For a $100 donation, we spin the wheel and play one of the versions of that song. Also, from this point forward, anytime we pass an even number 100, so the next one would be 400, we play another whip song. So, if you donate $100 right now, we'd play 2 whip songs. One for passing 400, one for your $100 donation. In addition, you could donate $150 to pick a specific song that's on the wheel, or $200 to create a whip song in a version that you want. I am crediting Blasterbot for his $100, obviously, but then for passing the $300 marker. That's it. 2 whip songs. Just 2. That's all we have on the agenda for tonight. For those of you who are leaving, I totally understand. I would like to announce, I think I'm going to be streaming a little early tomorrow night. So I think it's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern time. And I will be talking to the channel We're Offended, You're Offended. I believe a husband and wife. We're just going to be talking about debates, politics, stuff like that at 8 o'clock. And then that'll transition into my regular show. So you'll be able to watch that in all places that we normally stream. All right. Stupid whip wheel. Let's do it. Hate this thing so bad. It's the worst. Here we go. That sounds awesome, doesn't it? Oh my God!
Well, there's a whip, there's a way. We don't want to go to war today, but the Lord of the Lash says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Well, there's a whip, there's a way. Ew, 1, 2, a fit.
Horrible. Chump, thanks for the $5. Says, just to know, I would pay to see you do a TikTok invasion. You get to debate and crypt at the same time. Yeah, there was, when I get my new computer, I know that's a common phrase for me. We are trying to set up. It's actually a little harder than you would think to set that up. We are trying to make that happen eventually. Oh my goodness. One more is all I owe. Once they're on the wheel, I'm limited. Oh, please. Leave it not be one of the worst, please. Yeah, it was over a minute. Bubblegum bass. Shrieking. That's a word you want to hear when you're talking about your music choices. Shrieking. All right.
There's a way, there's a way, there's a way, there's a way, there's a way. There's a way, there's a way. We don't wanna go to war today, but the Lord of the Lash says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day, all day. There's a whip, there's a way.
Oh my goodness. Well, folks, we're only, I don't know, $25 away from the $357 goal. But now I'm not playing a new song because I see Destiny's mauling it, Ryan. Pretty funny. Oh, Destiny. Anyways, that's it for whip songs for tonight, folks. Oh, Andrew reviewed it and enjoyed it. Good. What a day, man. I'll be honest, it would have been nice to cap the day off making like $2,000. Someone was just going to donate like $1,500 and be like, no whip songs, just take the money. And I'd have said, geez, thank you. You're the best. But, man, even with not another donation. Oh, look at that, our buddy Avarice. $25 for the goal! Thank you, Avarice. I guess that's a goal. Thank you so much. Mangozy, $10 over on Rumble. Says, doing my part. Yes, sir. Thank you. Mangozy. Oh, Mangozy. Like, look, there's a lot of people. There's some people like Jungle that's just insane, right? But other than that, There's a lot of awesome people that donate on YouTube huge amounts of money. Blasterbot, Chop, Wade Boggs, and Intel Wild. So many great. And other people that donate a lot. But I think Mangosi's the undisputed donator champion over on Rumble. He's always crushing it. Always crushing it over there. Amazing. Oh, shit. That was a mistake. Just reading Destiny's cope here about you at least read the court case. I accurately predicted that would be Destiny's. You didn't read the court case. Oh, Wade. The great Wade Boggs. There he is. Wade Boggs. Maniac that he is. $100. Says, I know it's been a while. Now listen, before I play this, I think I mentioned this last night. I'm in a bit of a conundrum. My conundrum's this. We have to do the Chad of the month, who's currently Jim Hayes, the fantastic Jim Hayes. He's the Chad of the month. And I was going to do it on a Saturday, but then shit came up this Saturday and next Saturday. And during the Chad of the Month celebrations, we also do half-price whip songs. So I'm going to have to cheat and do it like on a Sunday or a Friday instead, because my Saturdays are booked up. So I will get together with input from my esteemed whip wheel associates, and we'll figure out a day that would work best. All right, I owe 2 songs. Mm-hmm. 1920 scant.
Well, there's a whip, there's a way. Well, there's a whip, there's a way. We don't want to go to war today, but the Lord of the Land says, nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where's the whip? There's a way. Where there's a whip, 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 there's a way. Left, right, way. Left, right, there's a way. Left, right, left. Where's the whip? There's a whip, there's a way. Attack on the back, still gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more. But we are the slaves of the dark Lord's war. Where there's a whip,
That was fun, wasn't it? All right. Last one. Wow, we're taking a tour through the 20s, 50s. Wow. Truly amazing. We got 70s occult rock, too.
Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, where the way they go to war today. The Lord the last says nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. We're gonna march all day and night and more, for we are the slaves of the dark Lord's war. Where there's a whip, there's a way.
Kyle swam the Nile. $10. Thank you so much. Man, do I have the craziest, best audience ever. Just truly amazing. You guys are the best. What is this? I do remember a thing of some sorts regarding this past Saturday night. What are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about. The fact that I just announced like 10 minutes ago, I usually do a chat of the month thing on Saturdays, but I can't do it because my Saturdays are booked up this week or this month, so I'm probably going to do it on a Sunday coming up. Is that what you guys are talking about? That I'm supposed to repeat that? One Brian song, please. I don't know. My archaic chat, who knows what they're talking about? Oh, man. I'm not showing any pine cones. Sears site, thank you so much for the $10. My stream buffer, can we restart the whip segment, please? Luckily for you, you could rewind. Luckily for you. It is true. It's possible to just go ahead and rewind. It really is. Oh, $23 away from a new whip song. Yeah. Colin Day show today was good. Day shift, quite frankly, sucked with the donos. But it was okay. I had a lot of fun. It's great to catch up with old people. So, reminder, that'll be Thursday. Again, the day shift show. All right. We're going to give it one more call. If people want to donate money, $23 away. Surely someone, you got great dudes like Blasterbot and Wade Boggs, always carrying the heavy load and annoying the shit out of me. For a mere $23, you could help them out. What are you going to do? Sponsor some poor kid in Africa? What a waste. Joseph Romano, $5. Thank you. $18 away. Oh, more celery. $10 says where there's a whip. Oh, my goodness. $3 away. Oh, look at that. Chop chop. $13. Oh, Joseph, $10. Look at that. That's the best. You want to know the best grift? That's the best grift. The best grift is when there's when you're close, you're like $5 away from something. You'll get like 8 people that'll donate that $5 because there's a slight delay. So I wonder how many people are like, son of a bitch, I wouldn't have sent that $5 had I known. But thank you all. All right. Another whip song. Oh, yeah. White emo, too. I do always chuckle at the fact that we have 2 versions of some of these. Like, what are we thinking? It's just...
There's a whip. There's a way. Where there's a whip, there's a way. We don't want to go to war today, but the Lord of the Lash says, nay, nay, nay. We're gonna march all day, all day, all day. Where there's a whip, there's a way. Crack on the back says we're gonna fight. We're gonna march all day and night and more, for we are the slaves of the Dark Lord's war.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've finally done it. We've finally done it. We've made it to the end of the night, I feel. I think we've finally to the point where we could all sit back and say, we did it. We achieved something no one thought possible. Wasted our time donating money to play stupid whip songs. We've accomplished the unthinkable. Very proud. Yeah, $100 to be 2 whip songs. That's true. I think people were cashed out, but that's okay. I also enjoy sleep. Oh, Brian's all for you. Recon, for you, you don't seem like a big a-hole.
He harasses women in messages. And it's all about respect. He's Brian Shaprio.
There, just for you, sir. You got it. Kyle swam the now. $5. Thank you so much. Only $75 left. That's true. That's true, old Joe. We do. My sleep would end if old Joe becomes a billionaire. I'm not looking forward to it. Oh, someone rolled a 20 on a 20? Who did that? Are we not men? Wow. Unreal. Well, folks, I believe we've come to the end of the evening, and a great evening it's been. Truly one of my favorite days I've had in a long time. I'm very blessed. Thank God for every day I have, especially with my family. They are wonderful. My son impressed me so much today. I could not be happier. It was a lot of fun. So I'm glad that you all could be here to share my great day with me here in the evening. It's been a lot of fun. Even the whip song seemed less annoying today. Of course, we didn't have a lot of them. I'm sure if we would have got more of them, it would have been annoying. Oh, we had back-to-back 20s? Are you serious? Or Celery also rolls a 20. Wow. Oh, for crying out, Caleb. You're lucky you guys caught me in a good mood. Jews. Now I'm good. Now I'm speaking the truth. If I made everyone happy, I hope everyone's going away happy this evening. We're going to raid Cool Vic this fine evening. I'll be back tomorrow around 8. We'll do it all over again. We're going to have a fun show. So, lining up debates and things like that. I got some good things coming up in the future. I think you guys are going to be pleased with. There's some things on the back burner which you wouldn't even believe. You would not believe. Some of the stuff I can't talk about until it happens, but there's a couple things you guys are going to be like, no shit. Our boy Rob's gone big time with some behind-the-scenes stuff, so. All right, stay positive out there. Thank you so much to my friend Avarice, to my editor, Black Elk. Thank you to all of my wonderful mods. Thank you so much to everyone who donated, particularly those that donated big money for stupid Whip Wheel songs. Blasterbot, Wade Boggs, you all know who you are. You guys are the best. Really, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thanks to everyone who liked the stream, watched, chatted, subscribed, or just sat there silently on all platforms. Really appreciate you. As I said, we're rated over to Cool Vic. We talked a little about the stakes, just how bad things have gotten with so many of these left-wing radicals and policies across the world, particularly the Western world. Never forget that's what the stakes are. Don't get depressed, but don't forget from time to time what the stakes are. And nothing could help illustrate that more than Charlie Kirk and how they took his life and then mocked him and his family. So say a prayer for Charlie and his daughters. And as the outro plays, just think of that. Watching his daughters run to him and how they'll never have the opportunity to do that again. So, God bless you all. God bless Charlie Kirk and his family. I will see you all tomorrow. As always, have a good night.
Only in America is it possible to say, you know what, I don't like the way the country is going, and to do something about it. Take that risk. Take that leap of faith. Stay involved. Trust God and act obediently. Romans 12:2 verse. That God will use all things for good for those who love him. It's bigger than you. I want you to remember that. It is bigger than you. It's bigger than me. You are here to make somebody else's life better, the pursuit of liberty and freedom. You know what gives me strength? hundreds of thousands of you that say, Charlie, keep going.
1 Corinthians 5 and 15. So that's all pretty amazing evidence, not just intra-biblical evidence, but extra-biblical evidence that Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God of all.